Good night to one and all. Good night to our viewers. Good night to all of our brothers and sisters all across Guyana and, of course, in all our related countries where the Guyanese community and the rest of the world are looking at what's happening in Guyana. Brothers and sisters across this country, it's been a stressful day to say the least. Elections have virtually in real time long gone and been finished, but we're still awaiting the results. Like you all, we are eagerly awaiting the release of the official results from GCOM. The sloth of GCOM is everybody's exasperation. But here is what. I wish to appeal to this nation. I wish to make an appeal to the president of this country, to all the political leaders. Let us come together and call on our people to be calm. Listen, it is my view that if the results are given today or tomorrow, it's okay. Let's wait so that the verified results are released, undisputed, their verified results are released. I will want to ask everybody that the international observers are in-house. They are observing the verification process in GCOM. There is no need for panic. We had a little bit of issue today, this evening, when apparently results were being taken from a spreadsheet instead of the signed SOPs. That is behind us now. Signed SOPs are now being used in the verification process. Look, brothers and sisters, there is a lot of anxiety out there. And the anxiety is being translated in some cases to depression and in some cases to hate. And we are taking that at another level by posting hate on Facebook and other forms of social media. Please do not hate. Please do not say bad things about each other, whatever is our race, religion, or whatever it is. We are all Guyanese. We all have a vested interest in having a good election, fair results, and good governance thereafter. So our panel tonight will sit and will continue to assess the results that have been released. We do know that only Region 4 and Region 7 are now outstanding. So we have good numbers to talk about tonight. We are waiting while we are having this discussion tonight. GCOM is supposed to be making another press release very soon. So if they do make that press release, we will switch and go over to them. So we are going to have our discussion. We know that crowds are building up at GCOM. The police have, as we speak, put up barricades all around. I would like to ask my brothers and sisters, please stay home. Please stay calm and let us allow the process to take place. We have a lot of faith in the Carter Center, in the international community, in the international observers. So we need to allow them to make their play, to have their say, and to ensure that the results that comes out is not one where anybody will say they were forced or anyone will say they were rushed. We don't want a rushed, unofficial result. We want a result that has been verified and is undisputable. So brothers and sisters, I would like to call on all. Do not hate. Do not post negative things about each other, whether it's ethnic backgrounds or anything. I want to tell you this. The people who are working in GCOM, for those people who are Indo-Guyanese and you feel that you have something against Afro-Guyanese, people working representing your interest in GCOM are also African Guyanese, Afro-based Guyanese. And those who are Afro-Guyanese feeling that you have something against Indo-Guyanese, there are people working there that represents your interests that are of Indo-Guyanese. Don't hit each other. Don't hit out at each other. I'd like to make one additional call. If people do hit out at you, turn the other cheek, please. It is time, this time in our history, that our humanity, our humanness is put to a severe test. I believe firmly in God. And I know that whatever we do is being viewed by that Almighty. And while we can hate each other, God has the final say. When we can judge each other, God is the Almighty Judge. And so I'd like to call on all of you, please let us put the hate aside. Let me welcome, first of all, let me give credit and thanks to Globespan for hosting us once again, 3 nights, consecutive nights in a row, and to have and bring on such a program where we are bringing people on from different facets, different sides of the community. We hope to be joined by any number of guests tonight. We have asked, we're hoping to get Sanjeev Dattadin, Timothy Jonas, maybe Senior Ralph Ramkran, and a number of other persons to join us. And so we're looking for a good conversation. We already have some guests in studio that will be taking us through tonight's discussion. Let me welcome Dr. Betram Ramharak and Dr. Rose. Two gentlemen will be joined by others later, but two gentlemen who have been keeping their fingers on the pulse, so to speak, of Guyana, not just now, but for their entire lives. And so they, as any one of us, have a healthy background of Guyanese experience and Guyanese history to take us through whatever difficult process we have. Gentlemen, welcome to our platform once again tonight.
Thank you.
And just before I ask you your opinion on what's happening in Guyana, let me also say that, you know, we have a good guy. He goes unseen. His name is Devin Bissoon. Devin works behind the scenes. He's our technical operator. And very, very often we kind of forget the people who are really making things happen. And Devin is the one that's responsible. Kumar also is responsible. There are a lot of people working behind the scenes to make these shows possible. So Devin, on behalf of the entire Guyanese populace, thank you for the fantastic job, and thanks to Nohar Singh for funding us all and making it all freely available to the public. I know that we here, the panelists, we are all doing this for free. There is no money here in it for anybody. We are doing this as a public service to the Guyanese public. So gentlemen, welcome once again. And what would have been your feedback based on what's happening in Guyana?
Well, you know, a couple of things. One, I would echo the sentiments you shared earlier about the fact that, you know, we, including us on this show, have to be very careful about what we say. I know things are tense in Guyana, and everyone's waiting for the results. I think two things should happen, and I've said this last night, which is one, I think it is important, just so we, you know, you articulated, you know, what people ought to do or not do. I think it's important for leaders to also come out and make statements to the fact that, you know, we are awaiting official results. Right? There are party cadres who I've seen on Facebook today who are making projections, who are saying, well, we've won, they've lost, we've won, they've lost. And I think that doesn't bode well. And you guys know who these people are in Guyana. They're jumping the gun. And I think secondly, as I said last night, it is very crucial, it is absolutely crucial that GCOM does not prolong this you know, much further. I think it's important for us to know the results of the election. And obviously, you know, political parties, the key ones at least, would have known by now where they stand. But having said that, you know, I mean, those things are important to remember, right? Earlier announcement. And hopefully we'll get all of that results tomorrow. But the fact remains, the fact does remain, that based on what you described earlier, you know, about what happened in that center, you know, where people were tabulating results outside of the SOPs, there was a deliberate attempt to fudge the numbers. But the fact that things have gone back to the SOPs, it means that it's an indication that we really do have a broken system, and everybody knows that. And I hope tonight, instead of talking about, you know, what is happening here, what is happening at GCOM, what is happening in front of Freedom House, we can talk about some of the reasons why these things are happening. And secondly, maybe we can focus on how we can rebuild Guyana. And I think that ought to be our focus tonight. Because we know, regardless of who wins, it is a racial census, and our goal is to promote an inclusive government. And I think how that, takes shape and form, that's something we can talk about because it's crucial for us to go forward.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Ramharak. Dr. Rose?
24/7 listeners, especially my brothers and sisters in Guyana. The elections are over, and we are awaiting the results. The situation is very tense from what I was made to understand, and the stakes are extremely high. But whenever the results are announced, and whosoever wins, let us come together for the good of Guyana. I will implore all the leaders, especially those from the two major parties, to appeal to their constituents to remain calm and to support the party and the new government that will take office. We cannot let this opportunity slip by. We can't indulge in violence. We cannot hate each other, hit at each other. This is taking the country backwards. We have come a long way. I've seen crowds of people gathered in front of GCOM's office. My fellow sisters, there is absolutely no need for that at this stage. Let the people at GCOM do the tabulating of the results. Let us understand that in every election, there is going to be one winner. And whosoever wins, we must also be ready to support that party, that president, in order to help us develop and move Guyana forward. You cannot take things for granted. You cannot indulge in violence. You cannot indulge in anything that will put the country behind or put the country backwards. We must move forward. This is the time for all of us to come together because we have to live next to each other. Indians and blacks, we are living side by side. Don't let this election divide you. Don't let anything happen so that you develop hatred for one another. As Guyanese, I'm urging you to make sure that we stand in unity once and for all. As the old saying says, united we stand, divided we will fall. Thank you.
Correct. Thank you. And viewers, you can see on one of the feeds we have on screen the crowd that is building up at GCOM. We wish to call on everyone. And I have on my Facebook, I have made a call. I'm publicly calling on the president, on Mr. Granger, and Mr. Jagdev, and all the leaders of the political parties. Please come out and ask everyone to be calm and to go home and to await the declaration of results. Yes, it is everybody's right. You have a freedom to come out and to support your team and to do things that are within your freedom to do, but you don't enjoy your freedom by removing the freedom of others. So, ladies and gentlemen, we'll continue to monitor the situation at GCOM. As I said, you can see on screen the crowds building up there. And we are hoping to go on a segue for a live feed from GCOM itself in terms of a press conference and some other things as they happen. Let me welcome also our team, other panelists who have joined us. Charles, Mr. Cleveland, I think it is, and Mr. Brian Collis. Gentlemen, welcome. And just before I ask for your opening comments, let me say that we have alerted our viewers of a couple things. One is that the verification, the process at GCOM is underway. It is continuing. We had a hiccup, and I wish to be very clear about it. I posted it, I shared it on my Facebook page. Look, these are the facts. At around 4 or 3 this afternoon, GCOM declared a halt to the verification process. They put the counting to an end, to a stop, not an end, to a stop. The reason being because the clerks there were using a spreadsheet, an unauthorized spreadsheet, to call out the numbers for the verification process. The international observers raised an objection along with the opposition, and Mr. Lowenfield, to his credit, I must say, good job, big man. To his credit, he entered, he said he wanted to do a sample, he took 3 or 4 SOPs, the verified SOPs, and he checked their numbers versus the spreadsheet, and he found there were severe discrepancies between the two. And so orders were, and so they brought the process to a halt. We understand later, about an hour or 2 hours later, the process continued with the order that let's go with the law. The law requires us to use the signed and verified SOPs, nothing else.
Right, exactly. And you know what? I would add, especially at a time like this, it would be a nice thing if all of the leaders, including the leaders of the coalition, the opposition leader, can appear on a public platform and appeal to all Guyanese and say, hey, we're a peaceful nation, we're waiting for the results, and GCOM is the official pronouncer of those results, and we're appealing to everyone, not to get out of place, not to do things that they will regret, and stay calm. And I think that would go a very long way if those leaders can appear on the same platform,
Right.
And make a common statement to all Guyanese.
All right. Brother Charles and Brother Brian and Cleveland, here is what prevails at this moment. At this moment, the count is ongoing. I like one of the sentiments made by a political person. Credit to that person who making the statement that, look, we want we want undisputable numbers. We want verified numbers, a declaration of numbers that are verified. We don't mind waiting till tomorrow or next day. We don't mind waiting 2-3 days, but we want numbers that are accurate, numbers that are good, numbers that will make us all proud. Your take on this, gentlemen?
Well, good night, everyone. First and foremost, I, like my colleagues over here, would urge all Guyanese to await the final results from GCOM. I won't jump the gun and say that I think most Guyanese would want to live in peace with most of the neighbors, and not because people are gathered there, it's going to be mean. It's not really anything menacing really about it. It's just Guyanese like to hang out and celebrate every little occasion. So nothing has happened, so we shouldn't just read too much into people gathering there for anything. Right? So I think the process is ongoing and we have to wait the final word from GCOM. However, I've been looking over some of the numbers that were presented by GCOM, and I can tell you there are a lot of problems with those numbers. And whenever you're going to have, even the international community, the OAS, Carter Center, if you're going to run elections with a bloated list, you are exposing yourself with a lot of problems. I went through some of the numbers, and I can give you an example. Region 3, when you look at the numbers, the participation rate is like 100 or 101%. Come on. You cannot, those things would not, inspire confidence in anybody. So we have to reform a lot of stuff with how the elections are conducted, clean lists, and a lot of, almost at every step of the way. That is the hand that GCOM was given, but the whole electoral process needs to be reformed in Guyana. Almost every step of the way.
So Brother Charles and Brother Cleveland, before you guys come in, I started at the top of the program myself, Dr. Rose, Dr. Amrak. We made an appeal. Listen, here, and I'd like to repeat this. We can't say this too much. We can't say it enough. Here is the issue. Today I made a call. I said, look, let us not make any Facebook post to belittle each other regardless of our ethnicity, regardless of our political background. Let us care each other. Look, there are a number of persons sharing hate. There are a number of persons sharing poor thinking. with an intolerance with regards to ethnicity. And I've said to people, if you want to be a racist, don't come in my space, don't come on my page. If you want to be a racist or whatever that you want to hate, if you want to be a hater, please don't do it in our public space. I have had cause to publicly apologize for people posting nasty things about each other. And I'd like to call on our people. Look, I wish to beg everyone, if someone attacks you at this time in our history, turn the other cheek. Don't give in. Don't hate. There will be tomorrow, and here is why. Tomorrow, our children have to live together. We will be gone. For the sake of our children, let us put hate away. Let us allow the politicians to do their thing. We got to live together. Brother Charles.
Thank you very much, gentlemen, colleagues. On the other side, Dr. Mohammed, Dr. Ramrat. Mahadio. Sorry. The opportunity this afternoon I would want to use to say to Guyanese who are on the ground to remain calm and peaceful. We have to wait for the official results to be announced. And just as Dr. Mohammed has just said, GCOM is in Dr. Mohammed has just said GCOM is in the process of counting or continuing the count, and then we'll verify and announce the results. So in the process, I know people are anxiously awaiting the results. However, tensions are rising, but as like Brian, I will quote Brian, the delay is, cognizance of the delay has to be taken. There are a number of factors involved. Logistics, old technology, and preparedness. But these are things, this is the hand, like you just said, Brian, we have been dealt with. So it slows the process down. But in the meantime, I don't think guys on the ground should be using this as an opportunity to be misled into mischief or any bad behavior. They might be celebrating prematurely, whoever they are, but also we should warn against, I would use this opportunity to warn against targeting people, calling people names, behavior like racists or whatever they are they're doing. We have to continue after this election. Well, I should make the comment that it's only at elections time we have all this kind of problems. The cream of the hate and whatever comes to the top. When elections are over, people go back into their little domains and communities, and like we always do, we live together. We have to continue living together because this is a space the hand has dealt us. We were put in this situation and we have to live together. So peaceful coexistence going forward. Wait for the results.
Correct.
Before Charles says something, I just want to make this comment. There's a report today. The delay of the results has actually crippled the economy. Right now, a report came out today that Guyana is operating at about 60% of its gross national product capacity. 40% have just been erased like that. And they said if this continues, it will probably get worse. The country can't afford this.
Well, Dr. Rose, to that point, sorry, Charles, to that point, one or two of the schools have already made public announcements that schools are going to be closed for tomorrow and the next, at least the private school. This is one school I know of.
Right.
So it is driving a bit of, Charles, sorry I cut you off.
Yeah, my colleagues here are very professional what they said. Listen guys, the election was only held on Monday. We wanted the result Monday night. Realistically, that's not possible. I really was impressed today with the Chief Executive Officer, having heard that someone was using a spreadsheet to read out the result. He actually threw that out of the window, and they insist that the only thing they will use is taking a poll. So I give kudos to the CEO, I think Mr. Lowenfield. He brought back to the perspective what the process is. Now the gentleman, Mr. Mingo, sadly he became ill this morning. Listen, it's fatiguing. These guys have to be up for days, maybe.
Had the
You
food,
know,
no? No
nobody
food.
know how each other's health is. Unfortunately, he had to go to the hospital. Whoever took over for Region 4, and it seems to me all the elections, most of the time Region 4 is the issue. When Region 4 is in the heart of the Elections Commission, so I'm appealing to everyone. A couple days, production is seized. You know what? Take a holiday, guys. Enjoy your holiday. Stay off the street if you can. As my friend said, if you want to come on the street, there's nothing wrong with that. Come on there, meet each other, hug each other up. I would love to see in the streets the little black boys and the little Indian boys walk with each other. That would be great to see. If the hand in hand they can walk down the street celebrating whether which side win. Thing is, every one of you already voted. The voting process is over. Now we're waiting for the declaration. You vote who you wanted to vote for. I voted who I wanted to vote for. That's over. Let us walk the streets together. Celebrate the process. Let us show the world that even though you think we are divided, we can put that aside and work together. And I'm appealing again. I see the crowd out there, and I think they're jolly. I think they're having fun. They should be allowed to do that. I see the police is also keeping, protection. So everyone is protected. And I really believe that at the end of the day, and I rightly said, one political leader said today, let's wait until the results are verified. The MOU says no one should declare the results. And I know everyone is tempted to push their agenda in. That's human nature. But at the end of the day, GCOM will declare the result, whether it's tomorrow, whether it's Friday. The results will be declared this week. So let's have some patience. As I said last night, patience is virtue. Let us show the best in us. Sometimes, you know what? There is blessings in waiting. And if we wait long enough, maybe the better thing come for us. So let us not rush the judgment and demonize each other. And like this guy, I think they're doing well there. They're okay. The police is keeping, good protection for everyone. And I just hope and pray that this will be over with. And as Cleveland said, as every election, the tension rises at this time. All of us knows that. But then after
Brother Charles, your audio seems to be very, very, something is not right.
Yeah, it's on and off.
Oh, it's
Yeah.
on and off. Oh,
So we could scarce-
I was maybe I pressed it accidentally.
So here's
So
what you
let's give the process some time, and we will get the result hopefully by the end of the
Dr.
week.
Mahadev, correct me, just enlighten me on this here. Let's say Region 4 has 1,000 polling stations. Now, the polls are tabulated on the statement of polls. So, GCOM received 1,000 SOPs. They're not supposed to take the final result and add it to normally who got what?
correct.
So why
Correct.
the return? So why it's taking them 2-3 days to check something like this here? I don't understand. No,
Well,
this
well,
is 1,000 polling stations. You have you checked APNU gets so many votes, we get so many votes, and the other parties. 3 days you
Correct.
take it to do
But
that?
that's the verification process.
Yes.
So let's-
each
yes, that's where-
set of poll will have to be verified, and everyone say yes, this is the number, this is the number, this is the
All the
number.
No, but the
It takes
SOP is
time.
already signed by each.
I know,
By
but
each
now they're
No,
gonna
but
put it-
double
Don't you think
check.
they'll go backward and check the figures? that are
Garbage in,
submitted?
garbage out. So if
Yeah.
he
no,
was there,
but
the
even
next
though
step they got to
even
be.
they have to
Gentlemen.
check.
Yeah.
It
Gentlemen,
takes 3 days to do that.
So let's put some perspective into it. Here is what a verification process may require and requires. The returning officer of each polling station places the first copy with the box,
Right.
right? And therein lies the verification. Okay? So that has to be cross-checked. That is the same sheet or a copy of the same thing that the other people get. But here is what. We'll come to the frustrations in a minute. Users have been inboxing me. They want to know what's the status as we speak. Before I read the status out to you guys, all of you out there, to the world out there, I'm going to read the results of the election as at this moment.
Okay.
But before doing so, I would like to repeat, I am making a public call on David Granger, on Barrett Jagdeo, on all of you gentlemen. If you are worth your salt as politicians, come out and calm the people's nerves. Come out and tell people to go home and let the process take care of itself. If not, gentlemen, you are not worthy of our votes. Viewers and brothers and sisters all across Guyana, look, I would want to quote from the Stabroek News. The Stabroek News as of this evening reads as follows, quote, after declarations by 8 regions, the PPPC is leading by 52,583 votes. Let me repeat. After declarations by 8 regions, the PPPC is leading by 52,583 votes. Stabroek News further states, the PPPC lead may be difficult for APNU plus AFC to make up in Region 4 and Region 7. In 2015, Region 4, APNU AFC got 112,362 votes and PPPC got 69,986, a difference of 42,376 votes. If that trend holds, according to Stabroek News again, APNU plus AFC would not be able to overtake the PPPC.
Exactly.
In Region 7 in 2015, APNU plus AFC secured 4533 votes and PPPC 2973 votes, a difference of 1560. So if one were to use the 2015 elections as the metric, as the gauge, as the guide, the difference between the two parties would have been about 43,800 votes. And currently, the PPP leads by 52,500 votes. Gentlemen.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely correct with the numbers. So here's the thing. Here's what I said before, right? And it's important to remember this. I know we're asking people to be calm and so on, as they should, right? But in 1992, when we had, free and fair elections because of the Carter Center and so on, President Hoyt refused, along with Hamilton Green, refused to allow, or they were hesitant to allow outsiders to come in and observe the election. So here in 2020, we have outsiders observing, right? We have a lot of observers, OS and so on. And these people are observing. And here we have, based on the numbers, and those numbers were known, we have a situation, and we just can't ignore it. We have a situation where we know that there was a blatant attempt made to forge those numbers. And it is absolutely critical that those observers and those diplomats came in and play a role, because the numbers are out, and I think you're absolutely correct based on the numbers you give, and of course those numbers were known before, and I think everybody here on this panel also had some indication as to what's going on. So, and I'm not very sanguine as some of you folks here to suggest that this is all one love, it's an election, we're going to get over this. I think what we need to focus on is how do we move from here, and how do we create a system that is more inclusive for all Guyanese. And I think that's where the focus ought to be right now. I think that is very crucial, very critical. And I keep saying that the longer, people keep saying, well, okay, GCOM has 50 days, but the problem is the longer this thing plays out, given what you just said, Yoga, about the numbers and who's winning and who is anticipated to win the election, you are creating a very volatile situation. People may be celebrating now, but once that's set in, again, given the fact that this was such a crucial election, you're going to have problems in the next few days as long as GCOM continue to not to give those results. And I think it's crucial, absolutely crucial, that we addressed. How are we going to move forward from here?
And Dr. Rose, I would want your input on the numbers, and then I want to go over to Brian. However, let me just make an apology. I'm corrected, and let me thank Mohan Rambisoon, I think. I'm corrected that the PPP, the opposition leader, did make a statement apparently on one of the news programs this evening, calling for peace, and he actually said that that the PPP don't mind waiting however long it takes for a verified result, but the PPP will be happy to wait peacefully and calmly, and he's asked the entire nation to be at peace and calm. So kudos to you, Mr. Jagde, for making that call. I would certainly hope that the president of the country can do the same very, very soon. Dr. Rose, the numbers.
Yes, based on the figures that we got here, looking back to 2015 and this election, in Region 1, the PP votes increased by 667. Region 2, 2,720. Region 3, by 6,045. Region 5, by 500. Region 6, by 5,000. And Region 9, by 37. Whereas APNU votes in Region 10 increased to 1955. And in Region 8, by 44. So in every region...
I have a question for you. Sorry, let me just jump in there for a minute. Is there an appreciable growth in the voting base? Is there an appreciable increase in the numbers of persons casting their votes that one could believe that the Region 4 could cause a huge swing?
Region 4, I can tell you off the bat, the numbers I got from SOPs, someone give me the number, they got the SOPs. The PP, up to looking at about 34,000, 35,000 votes, more than the PP. And in Region 1 is about 1,000, Region 7 is about 1,000. So you're looking at about 35,000. This is why the PP is claiming, or I shouldn't say they're claiming, this is why the results are showing that the PP won the election by over 17,000 votes.
Mm-hmm.
All right, I can jump in now.
Yes, please, Brian.
Okay, the numbers you have, those numbers that you put up from Stabrook, are those the verified GCOM numbers, or is the numbers from Stabrook News? Because I've looked at some of the verified GCOM numbers, and there are some slight discrepancies here and there. And like, for example, you were saying PP increase in Region 3 was 6,000. The one from GCOM has it by 8,000. And like, some of the numbers, I know they will be questioned, because when you closely examine the numbers for like Region 3, basically the participation rate goes to like 100 or 101%. This is why I'm saying that. The size of the population is 108,000. If you factor in at 33% or so of the people below 881, below 18, you get another 33, 35,000. And the actual number of votes cast is 70,000. So you're basically getting a situation whereby you have 100 to 101 participation. Those numbers are internally inconsistent. They're basically inconsistent. You cannot, the only countries where you can have 100% participation rate is North Korea, Russia, Egypt, and there are a lot of inconsistencies with those numbers.
You're right, but you're right with 100% participation.
No,
100,000 people registered to vote in Region 3.
No, that's the list. But what I'm saying, the population is 108,000. The list says the voting list says it's 100,000. We know it is bloated. That's what I'm saying. No, those numbers will be challenged. No, just listen to me on it. Those numbers will be challenged. If you check the population, 108,000. 100% of people will never vote. There will always be old people, sick people, people who are away, and this and that. So there are going to be a lot of challenges. So we have to, it's going to be a long process with many of the numbers. So we cannot take every number that is presented as gospel at this time.
Good, but here's what. We're numbers guy. You have worked you have been doing a lot of number crunching all your life. Numbers don't lie.
Yeah.
So one could
if
presume...
the numbers are coming from the statement of polls, we have to take those as accurate.
Yeah.
That's what you asked the first
No, that's what I'm saying. Those are the numbers. How can 71 or 72,000 people vote and the actual voting age population is 71 or 72,000 or even a little less.
No, but I can answer that question.
Yeah.
In 2015, you had 575,000 people registered to vote in Guyana, but 423 voted. The numbers you're looking at of the population were added to based on the list.
Let's stick
And
to region
people were-
3. I'm
people-
just giving you one.
By region.
If you go read by region.
Okay,
just
that's what I'm
stick to
saying.
one.
I'm looking at that.
No
But-
country in the world can have
No, no,
101,000, 101% participation.
No,
If
but
you have that,
what I'm saying,
you know it's problem.
what I'm saying to you, in region 4, for example, you
Stick
had
to region
200
3. I give you example. Let's read with region 3.
But region 3,
Population.
the population. But what I'm saying to you, that's the registered voters were people from the old list and the new list.
The oldest says 100,000.
Right, but that's the list.
We know it's bloated.
You're not letting me speak.
Huh?
So what I'm saying to you, within that list, they expect X amount of people died, X amount of people migrated, X amount of people moved away from that region to other regions.
People become
So
obliged.
that
I'm going to
list,
ask you a question.
that
Can
list,
more than 100% of people vote in any region?
no,
That is a inconsistency
Look-
that I'm
no,
recognizing. There will be
stop,
challenges.
stop. Look at the people that voted in region 3. 47 plus 23.
How much is that?
That's about 80,000.
What
That's
I'm
about
saying.
100,000.
How many people you think? How many people you think would be below the age of 18
In that population.
in region 3?
No, but Brian,
No, I'm
Brian,
telling
you're
you.
bringing-
No,
in there?
I'm a numbers man because I checked the numbers
Brian,
before.
Well, if your numbers, man,
your
some-
number is not adding up.
if your numbers, man, something is wrong.
Analysis is okay,
I'm
but
not
it's-
allowed. I'm not getting a chance to explain
Respectfully-
something.
Okay,
Respectfully,
you
your
tell me.
analysis is flawed.
No,
Let me
you
tell
can
you
tell
why.
me. Tell me why.
Let me
Tell
tell
me
you
why.
why.
I'm willing to listen.
Okay, good.
Look,
Yeah.
look.
Let's
look,
assume
let-
now-
let's-
Let's hear
let's
Charles.
be-
Let's hear Charles.
Let's be clear about it.
So,
we
because it may end
can
up in
work.
court. Let's hear
We can
Charles.
work
Court
with
is irrelevant.
certain
Court is
numbers.
relevant
One,
because
we work with the voters list.
yeah.
2, we work with the SOPs.
Okay.
Right.
Any assessment outside of those numbers will probably have to be on another forum and another platform,
Exactly.
or is something that we have to factor in with an X factor. We have to see a mathematical formula to say, here is what that effect will be on the overall numbers. The issue we have at this stage is GCOM has released this. These are the numbers. Devin can probably put the numbers back on screen, but these are the numbers that would have been released. GCOM, at this stage, only regions, correct me, Dr. Bitram here, only regions 4 and region 7 are outstanding.
Right.
Right,
Explain to me.
you're the reason.
All right.
Explain, because
Let's.
I checked the
Even if,
population.
even if the list is bloated, right?
Doc, it's not
Uh,
blood.
if-
Okay.
No, it's not what it is. It's participation meeting.
Doc, let me look at it this way. Let us assume now that Brian is right, that the people living in region 3 is 108,000. Period. Now, at this point in time. What we fail to realize is that thousands of people who would have been registered in region 3 are not living there now.
Anymore.
They're either overseas or they're dead or they moved somewhere else. Most likely they're overseas. So if you add the number of I am from region 3 and I'm not there. So let's say 20,000 resident region 3 has migrated. So you got to add that 20,000 that is on the registered list to that 108.
Okay.
So that's 128 now. So when you're looking at, well, not 128, 130. So when you're looking at 70,000 voting
No, but the voting
as
list
against
was-
130,
the voting list was
it
100.
cannot be less than
The voting
this
list.
100% talk about.
No, the GCOM
No,
voting
but
list is 100.
Brian, here
let
is
us
my other
understand
comment
also-
to you, and this,
Yo, one
this
second.
This is why I feel that
No,
the
I'm telling you,
discussion
it's going to be challenged because
population.
That's
there's
just
something
baseless. It's a really baseless
It is not
challenge.
baseless.
It is baseless.
Listen,
The Elections
Listen.
Commission presented a list of voters to the electorate.
That is true.
Every political party contesting the election
That is true.
accepted that final voters list. You cannot tell me now that
I'm
you
not
can
questioning
contest that
what,
list.
No, but no, we're
That
not
is blo-
contesting the
we
list.
know it's bloated because you
not gonna
cannot
contest
have
the list, but
660,000
What people will
voters.
contest the impossibility of 100%
It is
or
not-
101%
Brian, your analysis is
participation.
flawed.
But where is the
I'm
1%
asking
participation? Where is it?
I am asking
Because
you,
you will always
to
have a
give those
percent
numbers.
of
Give
non-
me
people below
the-
18. And as long as you take away the actual population from the set below
Brian,
18,
gentlemen,
You're not
participation rate
adding
is
on
gonna be
those who left region 3 who are still on the list.
it's going to be challenged.
No,
You
it
trust
cannot
me.
be. Well, it can be
Just-
challenged, but the
man.
court will throw it out because
Look,
thousands
be
of
done.
people left Region 3 for North America.
It's gonna be.
They're on the list, but they're not living there, so they're not counting at
It's
108 you talk about.
It's gonna be challenged.
If you add them to the 108, it'll be 130,000 people living in Region 3. But we don't have that.
And they're all they're
But
those
they're
things
on the
with
list.
couple
So
of, with
your
couple of
analysis
the
is
other things.
okay, but you didn't use all the
Gentlemen,
factors to come to that
let-
conclusion.
Anyway,
Gentlemen,
let's move on to
please,
something else.
Please.
But it's
Brian,
gonna be challenged.
Gentlemen, please, hold on. Hold on. Gentlemen, when you guys talk over each other,
Okay, okay,
the world is wondering what's going on because we can't hear any one of it.
okay.
So you might feel you're having a conversation, but everybody just sees you warbling or whatever is the right word. Now listen, Brian, I cannot dispute you because I don't have the numbers, but I cannot agree with you because I don't have the numbers. I do not know where it is possible unless seeing you sending me the SOPs, sending me the numbers for which district you're talking about, that over 100% of persons, 100% or
I'm gonna
101% of
explain it
persons
to you
voted.
slowly. Region
That
3.
is a mathematical
No,
impossibility.
you just got to make one simple assumption. The size.
No, you can't
of-
make an assumption
No, wait.
if you are saying 101%
Or we can
of
go to the
people voted.
stats bureau and get what is called the size of the population below the age of 18 because they cannot vote.
Not at all. You
People
are,
below
you
18 cannot
are-
vote, so that
you
has
are
to be taken away from the
mistaking-
population. So that is how we know that the
No.
participation is.
You are mixing, you are substituting chalk for cheese.
I'm finished
A
with that
static,
discussion.
you are using a static
Because I'm a
population
pollster,
when
I've
there are
been polling
people
all
that
my
are
life.
registered in an area but vote in another area. So we have to be realistic how people move and how people vote. And having the votes in a particular area, look, we reported this night before last, a guy from Rose Hall had to go till in line park to
Maybe
cast
one
their
or two of
vote.
those, but-
Why? So the
Anyone who
truth
sees
is,
a participation rate of 100% will say something is
No.
wrong. Because you have old people,
no,
sick
but
people,
something is
informed
wrong.
people.
But the truth,
Yeah.
No, Brian
the
is not
truth
accurate.
is, listen,
It's
the
accepted
truth
audience.
is that, no, the truth is that the viewers out there are saying that any queries, and Charles is right, we had with the voters list, those queries died 3 days ago,
No, the query is not about the list.
right?
Look,
The query
So
is not about the
look,
list.
Today we have to assess what we are getting from the SOPs
Look,
The query is the what we
and
call
what's happening at GCOM.
the mathematical inconsistencies of
Look,
101% or 100% participation.
Brian,
That
no,
is the
okay,
Brian,
stop.
until you
No,
could give
that
me,
is
Dr.
Brian,
Doc-
until
Doc-
you could give me the numbers and
Dr.
post it on
Mohammed,
screen that you are proving
can I ask
101%,
Brian,
please
where
have that
everyone
discussion.
participated? Where? In which region?
Region 3,
Okay, how many voters registered to vote in region 3?
100,000.
How many voted?
72,000.
Is that 100%?
No, but that is a bloated list.
No, is that
The
is that
actual
100%?
population, the actual population of people.
No, but
who-
is no.
we gotta look at the.
Brian,
You gotta look at the actual population.
I'm gonna
It
end
was
I'm
bloated.
gonna end the
Right, you
conversation.
get beating this horse
Let
to
me
death.
let me just say this.
Gentlemen,
It doesn't-
Let me
let's
just say this one. Let me just say this
The
for
actual
one thing.
population.
Let me just say this for one thing.
Yeah.
6,000 people, GCOM says register to vote. But GCOM itself said almost 180,000 plus will not vote. They expect about 460,000 people to vote. And that's the results we're getting, you know.
Okay,
Brian
gentlemen,
analysis.
gentlemen, stop.
move on.
Stop. Let's take a pause.
Yeah,
we are
let's take
going to
a-
be joined by
let's
Mr.
take a-
Sanjeev Dattadin,
I
who
look
is
at
going to
these
give
numbers,
us
I know
a perspective that is both legal and, of course, as you know, that Sanjeev is on the PPP's list. So you're gonna see Sanjeev Dattadin appear here just now. He'll give us an opinion. Many of us viewers who are probably on an anti-PPP platform might want to feel this is a bias thing, but we are gonna ask Sanjeev to wear his legal cap at this moment and to tell us how he's doing. Sanjeev will be joining us in a moment, particularly to tell us what happened at that 4 o'clock hour and where we are in terms of the verification process going on. Let me repeat that at this stage, this us having disagreements here is not going to help.
I know.
The entire nation needs to be calm.
Right,
The entire
we
nation
don't want to
needs to be
be
given
not calm.
figures. Correct. Needs to be given facts and figures, and we all need to be on the page of asking people, this is reality, let's move on. The reality of the situation is that at this stage, GCOM is still verifying Region 4. We don't know when they're going to finish. That's the reality. The other reality, well, not other reality, simultaneously, there is from regions 1, excluding Region 4 and Region 7, all the rest are out there. Let's talk about those numbers.
I know we were talking, but just want to put my friend calm at ease a little. The entire list we talk about is 660,000 registered to vote.
Impossibility.
The population
also.
is 780,000.
Impossibility.
So that number is highly improbable.
Let's leave that conversation.
No, right.
That's
the list should have been
impossible.
something
It's
like
not
550,000.
200,000 or 220.
So the thing is,
it's
you
impossible.
cannot.
It's not probable.
No.
Impossible.
Because 100,000 on the list have migrated. They're not there.
Charles,
So let us not say it's
Let's
bloated.
move on from that, man. Don't waste time in that.
Charles,
It's not.
I've done polling all my life. I'm a pollster.
let's do what we are
No,
telling
let me
the
just make a
rest of
point,
the
Dr.
population.
Mario. Let me make a point. Let me make a point.
Hold.
All of the
I don't
international
want any point
observers
about
are saying
101%
it has to
again.
be cleaned
Please.
up. Every one of them,
Please.
because it's just internally inconsistent. All of the observers say, you know what? That is so replete with
Brian,
errors and problems, they
you're
will move.
Can we move on with this
You are
conversation? Because it's a
repeating
waste of
yourself.
time.
Look, gentlemen, do what we are telling the rest of the country to do. Let's beg to
right,
differ.
exactly.
We can move on. We can move on. No, we
I
can
don't
move
want
on.
to hear any discussion about this again. Let's talk about
Right,
the numbers.
I agree
Let's
with
talk
that, I
about
agree
the
with that.
actual release numbers.
Can we vote on that?
You can- I can be Alberta, but I still believe what I believe. Strongly.
That's all right. Devin, is Sanjeev ready to come on?
Hello.
Yes.
Hi, Sanjeev.
Hi.
Welcome to our platform. To our viewers out there, we are being joined by Mr. Sanjeev Dattadin, who, as everyone know, is a senior, and I don't mean in age, he's a young man, but he's a senior, well-respected attorney in Guyana. He's also on the PPPC's list. Sanjeev, I want you to take off your PPPC's cap, as I know you will, because you're a professional in every sense of the word. I would like you to really keep just your legal cloak and your legal cap on and tell us about the count and the snafu that happened at around 4 p.m. and where are we at this moment and the legal view of it.
Well, what happened at 4 o'clock is inexplicably the GCOM, the CEO made a decision that the verification process that has been going on for Region 4 will be conducted using a spreadsheet, a printed sheet. We have a statute, the Representation of the People's Act requires that the statement of polls be used for the verification process, not a spreadsheet. You actually have to have the actual statement of polls, GCOM's copy.
Correct.
Now, for someone to think that they can do that and simply subvert the law or disobey the law, whichever you choose, is inexplicable. There is no authority to do that. The reason why the PPP counting agents objected is because what they said is that the figures on that spreadsheet that was being read was not what they had on their statement of polls, and they actually had copies of their statement of polls with them. So under Section 84 of the Representations of the People's Act, the procedure for counting votes has been clearly set out. It's got to be from the statement of polls and nothing else.
Exactly.
So why would someone decide to simply come upon a process that is not provided for by the statute and has never been done before in Guyana? I couldn't give you an answer as to why that was. But when that occurred, the agents objected. It went on for about 20 more polling stations, and in every single one of those polling stations, it appears that the APNU AFC party got, in some cases, 100 more votes than was actually there. In some cases, when you total the amount of votes that GCOM was alleging from that spreadsheet that occurred, there were not that many people who voted at that particular polling station. So that's why there was an objection. That's why we raised the alarm. We got in touch with the international observers. Our representatives made sure they were aware of it. They came here. The diplomatic corps came here, and After some time, there was a meeting of GCOM, and that decision was rightfully, I believe, reversed. I am here now where they're counting for the Region 4, and it has restarted using the statement of polls that are in the possession of GCOM. And it's so far, for every station, including the ones that had the errors on that spreadsheet, every station matches what the PPP statement of polls have and what the APNU statement of polls have. So there is now no discrepancy.
Okay. So the process going smoothly now, Sanjeev?
Right now, it's going well. I don't think that there are any hiccups. I mean, it's going to be a long night. I'm very happy that Mr. Lowenfield has said that they are going to work through the night, quite unlike last night, when what they said, they abruptly stopped at 9 p.m. to resume at 9 a.m., 12 hours, while the nation waits. But I think, I hope that this time they go through the night and we get this finished. Because if my understanding from what I see on the news services around Guyana, the only region to report so that a final declaration can be made is Region 4.
Correct.
Can I just ask you a
Sure.
question? You know, and you can put on your legal thinking cap with this one. Do you anticipate, as someone who's there on the ground and who's been through elections before, I mean, this to me was a very bold, a very blatant attempt at rigging. That's how I see it, right? And I'm being frank with you. Do you anticipate, now that this has been caught, do you anticipate any other unusual event that might take place before the final count is revealed, given previous experience with elections in Guyana?
I don't anticipate that there's anything that can be done. But I'll be honest with you, I never think that anything so bold and brazen would have ever been attempted by officials who are in GCOM and ought to be impartial. I never thought that
with the
would
observers
happen
being
either.
there too.
This happened in a room. I have to describe it to you. This happens in a room in front of everybody, in a room that the walls of the room are glass and everybody is sitting outside. So this happened in front of everyone.
Sanjeev, Sanjeev, this is Charles Segram. You mentioned earlier that the CEO actually gave the approval to use the spreadsheet. I thought it was the other way around. Was it Mr. Lowenfield?
No. No. What I understand is that there is dispute as to who exactly produced the spreadsheet. I also, there are varying versions as to who gave the authority. But when it was going on, and when the objection was first raised, Mr. Lowenfield said that that was being done so that it could be the process can proceed more quickly. And he also said that was came and he said he gave some explanation which I am not clear as to what logic the explanation made. So I don't want to get into it because I might be wrong, because I hadn't arrived as yet. I was really on the phone doing support for our people that are here.
Well, let me ask you a sort of this might sound like a hypothetical question, but I think it can be a real question. If things continue to happen, as this kind of snafu happened, as a member of the PPP and as a lawyer, now if whatever happened at GCOM had actually continued to happen and the numbers, were fudged, so to speak, would you have advised the PPP now, since they already have the statements of poll, to kind of preempt? Because if you're assuming that this is a very blatant attempt, as you describe it, and there was an attempt to rig the numbers, would you have advised the PPP now, since they already have the statement of polls, to come out publicly and say, look, these are the real numbers, before GCOM, assuming if they had gone
Well,
ahead.
it would be hard to legally advise them to break the law, because the law is the only person that can do a tabulation is GCOM. So we can't advise them to break the law, but it might have become necessary for them to make a public statement about the polls in Region 4. I mean, everyone is looking at it, and it has been said so many times before. The PPP are ahead by about 55,000 votes.
Yeah.
I might be wrong, but they're ahead by about approximately that. Now, even if you take the 2015 figures into consideration, and if you look at it, they can't be caught. And the APNU can't make up that big of a gap in Region 4. So for all intents and purposes, it must be over. But that declaration and what happens is really the sole province of GCOM. Now, the process that is going on right now, where I'm at, is going on in accordance with the law. The statement of polls are matching that everyone has, not only the PPP, but APNU and GCOM. So all three statement of polls for each polling station, they're all matching. So there is no, we are going to continue to monitor the situation. We have our representatives there. We have other persons here who are lending support and who are just here to observe. We have the International Observer Mission. We have the people here. So I don't anticipate that sort of an error will be made again, and I don't anticipate that sort of a process will come about again.
I have a question for Mr. Battadin. My name is Cleveland. Given what you just explained for Region 4, regarding the statement of poll in Region 4, can you say the same system has been used for verification in any other region or regions?
As far as I'm aware, and as far as what I am informed by our party counting agents, in every other region, it was done that way. In fact, now for the first time in Region 4, they have put up a screen so that you can see from outside what is being entered and what is being tabulated. That had apparently been done in all the other regions, but it wasn't being done here. And we had asked for it to be done since the day of the election. The night of the elections, we asked that it be done, and they said no, and it wasn't being done by GCOM. Now it is being done. But we have to be grateful. We have to be grateful that the international observers were here, the Carter Center, the European Mission, the Commonwealth Mission, and the British High Commissioner. They were all here, and they said that there was no provision in the law for them to do what they were doing. We don't understand where the idea came from and why it came about. Why would that have been? Because what they were saying is we will verify it later, but why verify it later with the statement of polls means we're doing the work twice. Why not do it now?
That's right.
As a
Are those observers going to remain in the country until the results are announced?
I can't speak for them all, but this morning, Jason Carter, who is the co-head of the mission that is here for the Carter Center, he said at his press conference that they were aware of the anxiety, and he also indicated that they were not planning on leaving until the process was completed.
Dr. Rose, I have a question here. And I've been trained all my life to be honest and decent with people, not to deceive the public. Can this person be identified and charged for perjury?
I don't want to get into that, not at this stage. I don't want to get into the identification
because this
of
is
anybody.
very serious. You're not supposed to do something like this. This is deceiving the public. And you put in a position of
Oh no,
trust.
it is serious. You're correct. It is deceiving the public, and it is very serious. But in the environment
it's a willful
that we
or
are
it's
now,
Let's leave him
and
the
it's
man.
the situation now, I don't want to venture identification or possible criminality. I don't think that's to the benefit of anyone at this
Okay,
stage.
okay, agree.
Whenever
Okay.
it's
But Mr.
willful.
Datadin, what you're actually saying,
Yes.
and if I'm hearing you correctly, the instructions to use the spreadsheet was given by the CEO, Mr. Lowenfield himself. If that is true, that is criminal because that's not the law.
That's right.
The law did not say to use a spreadsheet. It says use statement of poll. So Dr. Rose's question is
Well,
applicable.
you see Section 84. Section 84 is very clear.
Well,
It speaks of the statement of poll. That's why at
Right.
you see, if you understand the legislative framework, it's this. When the polls are counted, our law is that the ballots are counted at the place of poll. When that is done, they're prepared statements of polls in they're like one copy for each person who is in the room, a representative of each party. So what they would do is they would prepare one that goes to GCOM, that goes to the PPP scrutineer, polling agent, the APNU polling agent, and any other party that has a polling agent present.
Right.
Then what happens when the count is done, it is filled in with the numbers. It is signed by the returning officer, the DRO, the deputy returning officer, the polling agent. The polling agent sign it, the scrutineers, if you want to call them that, and the polling officer for that polling station. So they all sign on this document. So everybody, when you sign, you are certifying and training, and everybody's aware that your signature certifies that this is what is happening. You are verifying that this is indeed the count you witnessed. Now, when we take that, for each one of the various polling stations, we have to tabulate it. Now, the process that is going on here, I mean, it's being referred to as a count. It's not a count. All that is taking place with the returning officer for Region 4 is that the tabulation of the polls are taking place. That's what's going on right now. So if you have to tabulate all the statements of polls, it wouldn't make sense for you to try to tabulate it from a spreadsheet that no one knows who prepared it or where it came from.
Right.
Because everyone's denying on.
Question.
So it wouldn't make sense.
Is the spreadsheet used in conjunction with the statements of poll to verify those numbers?
No.
It's not. That's what we're saying?
No.
No.
No, that's not what was being done. A spreadsheet alone was being used.
Okay.
Sanjeev, when Mr. Jagdeo spoke today, he said they had about 70 more statement of poll for Georgetown. Then they will start the East Coast and the East Bank. Do you know how many statement of polls are for East Coast and how much for East Bank? Because once that is done, that will be Region 4.
I don't know exact numbers. I am not as well versed as those details as Dr. Jagdeo is. He is much more into that. But I do know that they have some more to finish for Georgetown. Then they're going to do the East Coast, they said, and then they're going to do the East Bank. That is correct. I don't know the numbers, though. I don't know the number of polling stations.
Yeah. Now, if I'm hearing you correctly, if the CEO is implicated in this snafu, my question is, has the chairperson of GCOM made any statement or reference to this event today?
Well, my understanding is that the chairman was going to make a statement at sometime at 8 o'clock tonight, at sometime around then. I'm not certain whether it's happened. I haven't left here since I got here because, we have to share the responsibilities of being present and being here. So I haven't left. So I don't know if she's actually had the press conference or if she's left.
Lord Dr. Den, I want to ask you the question again. It was information I got, correct me if I'm wrong, that although Mr. Lowenfield, the CEO, gave the okay to use this spreadsheet, the PEP was there arguing with him, saying, no, it's wrong, and he was fighting still to use it. He rescinded until the international observers came in.
It was the clerk who was using it when the PPP objected, as I understand.
Right.
And then he came in when the objections were being made, and he said, well, it was being used to speed up the process.
Right.
So it wasn't him who was doing the action. He can't do that. A returning officer, a deputy returning officer must do that. He can't do that part. When they're finished, they inform him of the count, and he takes it from there.
Okay.
Mr. Datadin, you're an attorney. Committing the crime and being accomplice to it is the same thing you're doing. So if the CEO give the go-ahead to use something that is illegal, definitely he's also part of that plot.
Is it knowingly? Knowingly, you have to
Again,
knowingly.
you keep pressing about legality and criminality, and I mean, no matter how many different ways you ask me, I don't want to comment about that. No, I really don't.
You have to knowingly do it.
I don't want to comment about that part.
Let me ask a question, though. Let me ask a question.
We're not hearing you.
Not hearing.
Yo, we can't hear you.
Yeah.
Okay. Sanjeev, gentlemen, let's not speak over each other. Sanjeev,
Right.
thank you, Dr. Mitra. Sanjeev, my question to you is that there seems to be huge, I mean, on the video on screen we have, there seems to be crowds building up around the GCOM main offices in Kingston. Is there any cause, any call to action or any cause in your mind that might have led to this?
There is a small crowd that had gathered. It's now smaller as we speak. I don't know why.
Right.
I don't know if the police have done anything to disperse the crowd. But there was a larger crowd earlier this afternoon, and it's now a much smaller crowd.
Oh, that's a relief.
I came outside to speak to you because obviously inside is a lot more noisy. So I don't know why, but when I was out here earlier, there were definitely a few more people here. They're less now, but there is a small crowd. I mean, as far as I can tell, not really interfering with anything.
Okay. Well, that's a relief. Gentlemen, any more questions for Mr. Datlin?
Okay,
Yeah,
let me
good
go.
question.
Okay.
Right. No, my question was, I think from my brother Charles here, raised a point just now. I'm asking Mr. Datterton if he's going to comment on the question of intent, whether Mr. Lowenfield knowingly did what he did, or willfully or knowingly did.
He said he wouldn't comment.
Oh, he did say that?
I wouldn't know about that part. I wouldn't know about the intent and the rest of it.
Okay.
And
And
again,
thank
about
you. The
possible
other thing,
criminality.
right. The other thing is there a correlation between, let's say, what happened in Region 4 or is happening in Region 4 and what's happening in, or may have happened in other regions? You have any idea, speculation?
No, as far as no. As far as I'm aware, every other region counted with statement of polls only. There were there were no discrepancies that I can tell you that I am aware of. And I haven't seen anything anywhere, published or otherwise, that have said that there's been difficulties with that.
That's the question now.
So as far as I'm aware,
Can I ask you a
as
political
far as
question?
I'm aware, yes.
Okay, and again, I'm asking this as a politician, and since I'm not on the ground. So, simple question. If the PPP wins this election, do you anticipate any problem with the transition from the coalition to the PPP?
Well, I'm of the view that if we go down the road of speculation with that, and if we say things about that, it could be interpreted by people, upset people, it might incite people. I believe that once the leadership, that's the job of the leaders. The leaders must tell their people the truth. What they didn't do, and they haven't been doing for the past 2 days, is telling the people the truth. The people I see standing on the road, I mean, if you were here, you could look at them. They believe what their leaders are telling them. And they're here because what they want to do is they want to protect their vote. But if the leaders were honest, because the leaders would have had the statement of poll since Monday night. And I'm sure a tabulation took place by them, as happened with the PPP. They both know what the results for the election is. It's simply a mathematical process of adding up what the figures on the statement of poll. So what we know is that, or what I think, is the leadership. The leaders of the people must be fair to them. Don't use them. Don't mislead them. Tell them the truth. Tell them what is going on. Tell them what your figures show. But when you mislead them, they're not here because they believe otherwise. I believe they're here because their leaders have fooled them. And if you keep doing that and you keep misleading them as the event, people are going to react. But that's using people, and it shouldn't happen. Leaders owe a greater responsibility to the people they lead.
Let me come with my question now. Concerning the use of the spreadsheet. I know Region 4 is a big region. You have like 1,000 polling places. Is it
879 polling stations.
Is it? I'm sure the CEO would have tried to use spreadsheet to speed up the computation, because he put all those numbers in a formula, boom, in a second or two it's done. So the numbers they input in what is just put it in what type of computer? A mainframe computer or just
computer database? There is a computer database where the figures are put in, but no one has the authority to use a spreadsheet for the verification exercise. The law, everything you do is prescribed by a statute, and there is no statute that prescribes that. So how could you use that?
Right. So Sanjeev, I don't know if you, I believe you're on audio only. You can't see what we're showing on screen, right?
No, I'm on audio only because my battery is low. So if I disappear, no, it dies. It's been a long day.
Before you disappear,
we want to play a clip from Prime News where they asked Basil Williams whether he agreed with the objections. If you can stay and join us and make a comment thereafter, please do. If you don't manage to stay, we understand.
As long as I can hear it.
Yeah, Devin, please go ahead.
Just give me 1 minute, right?
Sure. Devin is trying to queue up a video for viewers out there, a video that compliments of Prime, where I think they asked Mr. Basil Williams a couple of questions relevant to the elections and the objections that would have been raised today. So as soon as Devin is ready, he will start playing that clip.
What did he say?
By the time Devin look at it, Sanjeev, on a lighter note, you talk about honesty. Have you considered at one time to be on a candidate on the APNU list rather than the PP list?
If I considered being on the APNU list
rather than the PP list, yes.
Man, I can't be a part of people who don't respect the Constitution. They don't obey our laws. They try to take away the people's right to vote. I can't be a part of anything like that.
Well, you could have changed from the inside, couldn't you?
Charles, I expected Brian to make that rebuttal that he could have helped to change it from.
No, I mean, I have similar views, but on a different side.
I think definitely.
Oh, okay, go ahead.
Of course.
What did you want? It was delayed, but why?
I don't know the problems they had, the objections that are being raised and so. I mean, if the process has gone, then the process.
Were the objections valid?
We don't think so. No, because they're saying that our vote we had 100 something that we give ourselves votes or something like that. But they could best explain it.
Basil, the main contention seemed to be a spreadsheet that was generated.
No, but listen, the spreadsheet was something that was inherited from their time. They used to verify the spreadsheet. Now they don't want spreadsheets, they want to use stage of the polls. We have no objection, let's get it over with.
But are you saying that the spreadsheet is authentic and it's commensurate with what's in the state of
It's GCOM's document. GCOM under the law could regulate its own procedure. So GCOM could decide it wants to use spreadsheet. But GCOM has agreed to use the spreadsheet.
But is that within the ambit of the law, the spreadsheet?
The solution that they came to, and why? Why was there a need for a solution?
You know, GCOM is
Yeah, Sanjeev, you would have heard Basil say that he believes that GCOM may have the right to implement its own rules.
Yeah, but Basil thought 33 wasn't half of 65. I don't pay much credence to a lot of what he says. But to be serious, he can't possibly think so because the law doesn't provide for it. To have said that it was used previously is not true. Simply not true. To say that that about the objection and what is the merits of the objection, he was in that room when the objections were being made, and he wanted to use the spreadsheet. Maybe what someone should ask him is how he had a spreadsheet.
Okay.
I just heard Basil saying the spreadsheet was inherited from the last dispensation of government.
That's not true.
That's what he just
The
said.
last government had nothing to do with spreadsheet. And GCOM didn't do that. GCOM used statement of polls.
All right. So Sanjeev, thank you so much for being here with us tonight. We're all very appreciative of you being very busy and still making the time to talk to us. Please do keep us updated as things go along and happen, and we are keeping tabs of the things you're posting too. Thank you so much, Mr.
Before Sanjeev go,
Thank you for having me.
Sanjay, before you go, are you of the opinion that the statement of polls for Region 4 will be completed tonight, or it likely go on tomorrow?
The hope is that it's completed tonight. It's going to be a long process, a tedious process, but I think it should be finished tonight.
Okay. Great. Thank you so much.
All right.
Thank you.
Take it care.
I wrote about this today.
To our viewers out there, that was Mr. Sanjeev Dattadin. He is on the PPPC's slate, but also a respected lawyer in the legal platform, legal domain in Guyana. We will now be joined by Mr. Timothy Jonas, who, as you know, is the chairman of a new and united Guyana, ANOG. He was on a night ago when we spoke. And again, we will ask for, he's a senior lawyer a lawyer in Guyana as well. We're certainly going to ask his opinion as to how he thinks the day has gone and what is ANOG's position. As everyone out there know, both Mr. Ralph Ramkan, who's a senior counsel in Guyana, and Mr. Timothy Jonas, as well as Mr. Sanjeev Dattadin, these are all people who are very respected here in terms of their legal standing. And there are others too, like Mr. Husti and a lot of other guys, of course, Anil Nandalal and many of them who are here and keeping their fingers on the pulse in Guyana here to ensure that you know, we keep dotting our I's, crossing our T's. So we will be joined in a few moments by Brian. What's your thoughts on Sanjeev's statement, you and Cleveland, with regards to the statement of polls vis-a-vis the Basil statement with regards to the spreadsheet?
Well, I mean, I don't know the law, but when most laws are written, generally there's always a discretionary element for the senior executives. So in general, they can say, for the objective of the organization and to speed up the process, use the discretion to do this. So it's going to be very hard for, as my colleague over here is going to say, it's fraud and he's willfully doing this. I'm sure he's just doing it to speed up the process. But those are my views on it.
My comment.
Okay, thank you. Yes, Cleveland. Go ahead.
My comment is, it could be I don't know if it's precedent. Basil is claiming just now it's precedent because it's been used before, and this is what has been going on. So I can't come down on that either side of this issue. So,
but I could counter by asking you, Cleveland, if something fraudulent happened before, will it be okay to do it now? Wrong don't make a right.
If it's wrong, it's wrong. If it's illegal, it's illegal.
It's not so much fraudulent per se. I mean, the law says one thing, but if the CEO want to make it, as my friend said, make this process faster, at least key in the correct information, not incorrect information. Because you have had the correct statement of poll information, so I think that was the worst part of it.
It was precedent.
You get into the man's mind. It could be an honest mistake or a willful mistake. We don't know which is which. If it's an honest mistake or a willful mistake.
So viewers and our gentleman team in studio, we are joined by Mr. Timothy Jonas, who has been the chairman of and New and United Guyana. We have had him a night ago on our show discussing what's happening with the elections and so forth. Tim, welcome to the program. And you came in at the right time. We just played a clip with Basil Williams speaking to Prime News, where they asked him whether he agreed with the objections for the use of the spreadsheet the SOP. And Basil's response, I don't know if you saw it, but I'm just telling you, Basil's response was that he didn't agree with the objection because he says that during the last government spreadsheet was used, and the process was being used to make the process faster and stuff like that. What are your comments, Tim, and what's your legal thinking on what has transpired?
The Representation of the People's Act sets out a procedure with safeguards. The procedure requires statements of poll from each place of poll. Those statements of poll are signed and countersigned by the officer in charge and countersigned, and that is what makes them safe. So when those statements of poll go back to GCOM for verification, you have a safe document that has the signatures of the responsible officers, and the Representation of the People's Act says that is what you use. Now, I know that Basil's had difficulty counting numbers in Parliament. I know he's had difficulties in other areas, but surely this is easy enough to understand. You use the statement of poll, which is signed and stamped and therefore authenticated. How can you possibly justify using some kind of spreadsheet that pretends to be a summary of that statement? Nobody knows where that spreadsheet came from. Now, what may not have been discussed, I only just came on the show, but what I'm aware of is that when they started going through the items on this spreadsheet, poll by poll by poll, the first 21 items that they picked up, 18 had mistakes. And each of those mistakes, the numbers on the PPP side were accurate in accordance with everyone's record of the statement of poll, and the numbers for APNU were exaggerated by approximately 100. Now, mathematically speaking, if you multiply that by the number of stations, you have for the 500 free votes for APNU, if that is allowed to continue. Is there anyone who can possibly say that you break the Representation of the People Act, you break the safeguards that has the signatures and stamps of the authorized officers, you use a spreadsheet that nobody knows where it came from, and you say it's okay because in some unknown time 5 years ago somebody else did it? Come on, that doesn't even bear discussion, yo.
That's right.
Correct. Thank you.
My question, Mr.
Hold
Jonas.
the line. Dr. Amarak, you go first.
And Tim, I know you're a smart guy, and this begs the question. I did ask you yesterday, if the PPP win, if you anticipate any problems with the transition of power, but that's not what I want to ask you right now. My question is, if this is such a bold-faced attempt to rig the process, the question is, do you anticipate any other challenges along the way before the numbers are released? For instance, there have been some discussion about the fact that the PNC may challenge the idea that PPP were giving out, fake IDs. I think there was an incident where Anil Nandal was in the presence of Amna Ali and Williams, and obviously that doesn't make sense, for a person to be doing that. And secondly, they may challenge us legally on the basis of the fact that the list is bloated. And if you recall, Williams was concerned about the fact that people on the list ought to establish residencies. So I guess my question is, given this event, do you anticipate any other problems along the way in terms of making that transition, assuming if the PPP win the election?
What an interesting question.
You wanted to ask him a question.
Yeah. The discovery at the GCOM level, I'm trying to figure out whether there's any knowledge that whatever may have arrived there could have been discovered before at the regular, what you call, number of polling places. How did it pass that level to get to the GCOM verification stage? You have any idea?
No, he said
No, what I'm saying,
I'm sorry,
the discovery
Yeah.
is made in GCOM. That's where the error has been discovered.
but that's where they're
On the
doing it.
spreadsheet, right?
On the spreadsheet.
They're doing it in GCOM.
That's what I'm trying to separate the two things. Whether this was an error that was made before because it had to be checked off at the polling places. How did it leave there and then come into GCOM?
Discrepancy somewhere.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to figure out, if you can disaggregate or separate the two things.
It was done in GCOM, the spreadsheet.
Well, I don't know. That's what I'm trying to clarify. Where did this really happen?
It's in the papers.
Yeah.
They weren't using statement of poll. I think that's what he said. They were using some other document. There's probably a discrepancy between the document and the statement of poll.
Yeah,
Mr. Jonas, you heard the question?
Yeah.
I don't think he.
I did hear the question. I'm trying to understand the reason for the question.
No,
You see, at the end of the day,
Mhm.
Mr. Lowenfield has said he's exercising his to use this spreadsheet. Now, wherever it came from, Mr. Lowenfield had no discretion to use the spreadsheet. Mr. Lowenfield is required by the Act to use statements of poll. And if he produces a spreadsheet and says, in the exercise of my discretion, I'm using this, he's acting unlawfully. And in fact, when he was confronted and responded to say it is my discretion and I'm exercising it, it took a member of the Guyana Bar Association who was an observer there to point him to Section 84 of the Representation of the People Act and his obligation to rely on statements of poll, not on a spreadsheet.
No discretion.
So, given that factual situation, do we ask where the spreadsheet came from?
I'm going,
That becomes
Does that
irrelevant
affect
then.
anything?
no, I'm
No,
going
no,
to
no.
the. I'm not going to the
No.
spreadsheet. I'm going to the error that's on the spreadsheet.
Whether it's on,
Where-
on the statement of
Statement
poll
of poll
or another
or
document.
another document. I'm not dealing with the spreadsheet per se. The input
But
on the
sir,
spreadsheet.
no error on a statement of poll was described. The error is on the spreadsheet. The spreadsheet was proved to be inconsistent with the figures on the statements of poll.
Okay.
Right.
So why are we discussing a possible error on the statement of poll?
I don't know that.
A
I'm looking for
spreadsheet comes
clarification.
out-
I'm looking for clarification. I don't know that.
a
I'm hearing that
spreadsheet
now.
comes out-
But,
No one
but
knows the authorship of the spreadsheet. It is inconsistent with the statements of poll that are signed, co-signed, and stamped.
Right.
And we are speculating if there's an error in the statement of poll. We've gone into the realm of the ridiculous.
No, it's not.
I won't put it that way. I'm looking for clarification. If there's some discrepancy between the two,
so gentlemen,
why wasn't it picked up?
I can't be more clear.
I think it's very clear. I think it's very clear that look, there's some inconsistencies crept in. However, it is now behind us. The process is going. Tim, we just before you came on, we had Mr. Datin and Sanjeev online, and he said the process is continuing. He's there actually at GCOM, and it's ongoing. We do know that it is ongoing. So I would like to thank you guys for keeping your eyes out and giving us your legal perspective on all these things. Tim, let's look at the numbers so far. Based on what Stabrook News released earlier, 52,000 votes lead by the PPPC over the APNU AFC. According to the Stabrook News, using the trend of 2015 election, there is no way that that the APNU AFC can overtake that number. Your thoughts and comments?
Yes, it's about 52,000 lead by the PPP. The only uncounted regions are 4 and 7. 7 is nominal because 7 is a couple thousand people.
Right.
So 4 is the big chop. And in 2015,
But 43,000.
the APNU coalition won Region 4 by 43,000 votes.
Right.
So that leaves them, assuming they get the same number of votes, it leaves them 10 short. But there are two variables to consider. One variable is that the AFC in 2011 got most of their votes from Region 4.
Right.
So the AFC component of Region 4,
It's dead.
which I think all of Guyana will agree has collapsed,
Right. True.
will make it that much more difficult for APNU to get that number of votes, even the 43,000 votes in Region 4.
That is true.
One ingredient that has not been considered is whether anyone in Region 4 voted for one of the smaller parties. Because as you can see, it's only the two-horse race that is shown there. That is a variable, but quite frankly, I don't think that's going to affect the end result vis-a-vis APNU PPP.
So how has ANOC done
They have said
during the
11,000
election? How
votes
do
in
you have
Region
a
4 in
sense?
2015. That's gone.
You have to wait for the results. I mean, you're assuming it's the same, but let's wait for the results. No one here is GCOM. Let's wait for the results. All right, gentlemen, that's what we all agreed to. Wait for the results. I can assume APNU is going to get all the PNC components to vote and the all FC votes, and they go way past the 52,000. So just let's wait for the results.
Tim, that's why you're a brilliant lawyer. Analysis is sung based on the, look at historical factors and then make a projection what is likely to happen.
AFC's constant.
And right, I mean, by all indications,
assume that.
Well, given that at the local government, the local elections,
I was going to say
AFC
that.
declined from 11% to 4%.
Local government
I would really
national
want to
elections are
suggest
different.
that AFC is going to suddenly be
Oranges and
recover
apples and
their
oranges.
10,000 votes, 15,000 votes in Region 4.
Just wait for the results.
Tim, would you agree that the PEP got a statement of polls, APNU has a statement of polls, and they already know the results?
Certainly.
Okay. So this is why the PB can go about making the claim that they're leading by 17,000 votes. Would you agree to
Well,
that?
there we have a problem. You see, I hear everyone here
Right.
satisfied that the PPP have won. That may be. But what we have to understand is that we are in a highly tense situation.
Right.
We have two parties. Both parties are saying to their supporters, we have won.
Correct.
Both parties are equally wrong to do so.
That's right.
And however we see it, we have 6 of one and half a dozen of the other. We have two parties that are harming our society by this kind of approach. Because when their party loyalists hear the leaders say we won, the decent and honest men of integrity at the top that we look up to, that say we won, they take it as gospel. And then when bad news hits them, the only possible answer is that the other side, those terrible next to the devil people on the other side, have somehow robbed them. And there's one inevitable consequence. The two parties have both failed Guyana in their conduct of these elections, as they did 5 years ago, as they've done for 50 odd years.
So Tim, let me ask you this question in terms of that one of our viewers sent this in. The gentleman is asking. I mean, we all know the answer. Well, a lot of us in the platform here know the answer, but I'm going to have you ask you to answer it. Excuse me. Richard Thomas asked, where are the military votes? Where are the votes from the military, the police and army and so forth?
As I understand it, the procedure is that although those votes are cast early, the votes are counted at the same time as the others.
Right.
So they are collated and counted at the same time. That is my understanding, but I might be proven.
And my understanding is that it's merged, so as a region's result is being read out or a district's results is being declared, it's already inclusive of those votes.
That's correct.
Dr. Amarak, you were saying?
No, I was going to ask Tim if he has any sense at this point how ANOG has actually done in terms of, we're looking at maybe 1 seat or 2 seat, or how do you think you've done?
Don't embarrass them.
Well, I think that the three parties, ANOG, LJP, and TNM, have together gotten at least a seat.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, we did not. The Guyanese public voted along ethnic lines, so they will get what they deserve. There will be a majority. I suspect there will be a majority government. We really wanted to have an independent parliament that was not controlled by the government, because the recipe for corruption in our country has always been the control of parliament by government. And I believe that we will once again have a government that controls parliament. We will do the best we can, but as you know, if there are 33 of you and 2 of me, I could talk till I'm blue in the face. When the vote happens, the government will get their way every time, and parliament becomes a rubber stamp.
Tim, you as you know, also the reality in Georgetown is that in opposition, you push for so many things to get done. I know your party, ANOG, has pushed constitutional reform the top of the agenda. Will you continue to work now with whoever becomes the opposition to push that agenda for reform in the constitution, knowing that in opposition you want it, in government you don't want it? But can we now work with the opposition to push that, and hopefully we will have meaningful reform? I asked that question because Mr. Ramkran was here last night, and he said one question. He says, when they were doing the reform in 2000 or somewhere there, both the PPP and the PNC objected to shared governance as being part of the reform of the Constitution. I also said many times that these two parties benefit from each other, with the 162 of the Constitution that says the party with the most votes win the presidency. And the prize, of course, is the presidency. Unless that is changed, Guyana will continue along this path for the next 100 years, because it seems to me the last 53 years we have gone that route. We thought that your party and the others would have made a difference. You were kicked at the curb. Nobody listened then. So what is your view of constitutional reform being paramount for the next 5 years?
Well, a number of things you said there that I've got to respond to. Let me respond to the last one first. You said no one listened. I don't think that's true. You will see that thousands of people listened. And one thing is going to be clear, if our projections are right and the PPP will win this election, notwithstanding the prevarications by the APNU. In Guyana, for the first time in 2015, the PPP, the party with the largest demographic ethnic support, lost. And 5 years later, in 2020, the people voted again, and it appears are voting out the party that they put in just 5 years ago. That speaks to people power for the first time in Guyana. And it may well be that the electorate we are emotive in Guyana, can emotively say if they are disappointed with their leaders. You know, we put you all out before, and we can put you out again. And at that level, if people feel confident in their vote, they will be less afraid of the other side. The reason that people vote blindly along ethnic lines is their fear that when the other side gets in, they never come out. We've had 28 years and then 23 years.
Right.
Suddenly, the people are seeing they have real power. And the reason they have real power is the swing vote that has risen above. It's only a couple thousand people. It's maybe 15,000 people in our voting block of 600,000. But because the demographic divide is so razor thin, that is an important, I would say that is a critical voting block, that small group. And they will listen, because I'm going to tell you something. In the next 5 years, we will see a more moderate PPP because they've learned a lesson.
True.
But you cannot change your stripes. We will not see less corruption. We will not see less venality. What we will see is more caution in the exercise of corruption and venality. But it will still anger the supporters. And in 5 years, people will listen. Because a new United Guyana is not over. We will be speaking, we will be expressing our views, we will be pointing things out in Parliament. Let me answer your question on constitutional reform. You're absolutely right. You need 2/3 majority. The two sides, when they're in power, don't want it, and therefore you will never get 2/3 majority if the government controls Parliament. Because the government that controls Parliament will laugh at you. Winner take all, they get to award the oil blocks, they get to sign the petroleum deals, they get to award the import licenses. Why do they share? Why would they share? Our leaders have always had feet of clay. It's a tragedy in Guyana. And that will not change unless there's a swing vote in Parliament. It doesn't look likely this go around, but give it 5 years and see. I don't think that we've been kicked to the curb. Let's wait and see.
Lawyer Jonas, I just want to, if you will permit me to issue a challenge to you, can you take it upon yourself as someone in the legal mindset, to try to say we can bring the two major parties together to reform the Constitution.
You need Jesus to do that.
If let me finish. What help you need? Tell us here. We're gonna try to get you the help from the diaspora. I guarantee you that.
So
you could bring Jesus Christ himself and Mahatma Gandhi.
No, don't say that.
Neither of them will cheat.
I said, can you attempt to do it? Can you make attempts? Can you make attempts? Can you make attempts to do it?
So, Mr. Jonas, Tim, thank you for being here. I don't know how busy your night is. Please feel very welcome to stay on. To the viewers out there, I just want to segue off elections and politics for a brief moment. We have had some very interesting things happening all across the country, and you know what? Not all of it has been on elections. We have had one extremely interesting helicopter drop at the west coast of Demerara, where apparently some person was dropped off on the west coast by a helicopter. It gotta be probably some king of some country, I would presume. But we have that clip queued up, and just for viewers' interest, we'd like to play that. It shows what's going on whilst we're also busy focusing on elections and everybody's attention might be turning away. Here is what happened in plain broad daylight. Devin, please play the video.
Smile! Hey! Did you fly up? Clean!
That is the short clip we got sent in to us from somebody who would have, seen it happening at West Dem, and we thank at this stage anonymous person who would have recorded that video. What we do know is that I've heard that the person who was dropped off there was apprehended and would have been in police custody for questioning. But we said, gentlemen, your thoughts, because things are really happening in Guyana.
What is that?
The wrong things and for the wrong reasons.
No.
I mean, you're violating the airspace, first of all. I don't think they get permission to land.
No, it's a backtrack. It's backtrack.
Backtrack.
That is
enter the country without permission.
Yeah, violating the airspace. There's a security issue. Secondly, somebody got some kind of money. Somebody got some kind of money. I don't know if they're bringing money or they got money to deliver a cargo of a human cargo. I don't know what's going on. Yeah.
Right. So I mean, I don't want us to dwell too much on it, albeit to say that the person would have been in police custody for questioning. One would have to really be concerned as to how our security systems and our airspace and our country, how things are taken for granted. Viewers, we do have another clip that...
Dr. Mario, remember a couple nights ago I told you, with all the oil and all these things, we have to improve all of those things because people will be rushing in and take advantage of us, like taking candy from a kid, So you have all those things have to be improved.
But just curiosity, the person in police custody, is he Guyanese or not non-Guyanese?
Non-Guyanese, not a Guyanese.
Wow, that's a good one.
Not a Guyanese.
Yeah.
So we do have another video that we are queuing up as we speak. This one relates more to election. It's an internal video that shows Lowenfield addressing people within GCOM. And so we're going to queue that up and bring it sooner or later. We also going to have, some other stuff happening, videos that are coming up that talks about what's happening with elections. We also have Brian Max queued up that he will join us at some stage to tell us he has been on the road, having a feel for the protests, having a feel for the gathering of people in various places and stuff like that. But gentlemen, look, the truth is at this stage, we are only now waiting on GCOM. And GCOM basically said at 7 o'clock it was going to give a an update, a press release. That didn't happen. We expected a statement from the GCOM chairman at 8 o'clock. That didn't happen. So now we're wondering whether tomorrow's results is going to happen. So I don't know what are your thoughts, but I would like to also address Tim in terms of the constitutional guidance. The moment GCOM declares a winner, there is no challenge that can stop the winner from being sworn in, is there?
GCOM declares it and you're sworn in. You can have an elections petition that has to be filed within 2 weeks, but the process of the GCOM declaration of the winner, you don't stop that. That takes place. Yeah. I smiled to myself today because I saw a picture of Office of the President with the military in full dress parade regalia waiting to swear in a president. I guess they'll have to wait until tomorrow.
Too. Yes, I got that feedback too. In fact, I got the feedback that there was supposed to be a swearing in tonight, but I'm not going to speak more of that. Yeah. But the truth is that all of Guyana and all the Guyanese people who are overseas, they're all eagerly awaiting for what's the next step here. And I think the president has appealed to supporters. This is a really welcome call. We're going to cue this up to the president. David Granger has appealed to supporters in front of the campaign offices of APNU plus AFC on La Mahastri to remain calm and to wait on GCOM to announce the 2020 election result. That is another welcome development. Yeah, Tim, earlier today, this evening, you were actually calling on the leaders to man up and to have their, bring their followers under control.
More than that, Joe, I was pointing out that both sides have said to their people before GCOM made an announcement that they've won, and that creates a false hope. So they've already done the wrong thing, and the best they could do now is to go out and say to their followers, you need to go home and wait. You cannot be out on the road. There is a hostile situation occurring right now outside the GCOM office in outside the Ashman building, and that is caused by the kind of rabble-rousing rhetoric and false promises that have been made by the party leaders. It's really harmful for the country. We are really seeing leadership by the worst among us in this country.
Correct.
I agree, and I know a lot of us are saying, and we keep focusing on this whole issue of constitutional reform. That's going to happen, but that's going to be a long, drawn-out process. But I think what we will probably see, which is more important for us to address, is to address this whole notion of creating an inclusive government. And I think that has to take priority. I'm not saying constitutional reform is not important, but I think, and this could be a topic for a different show, how do we move in that direction? Because I think that's going to be very crucial, because you have to establish stability in the country. And I think addressing that ethnic concern, I mean, we've talked, not to blow my own horn, but we've talked a lot about this in the past, and there are things that has to be set in place, because Guyana cannot continue regardless of which political party wins. We cannot continue the way we are, because that's going to be very problematic.
We speak in abstract terms. We sit down comfortably in our armchairs and we speak in abstract terms. And we speak so much and so emptily that it becomes a string of cliches. Two cliches: constitutional reform and inclusive governance. Expressions that are familiar to every Guyanese until they become meaningless. If you think about inclusive governance and what it is, Mr. Granger would have to sit down with Irfan Ali and agree that they do not make a decision to award a contract unless both of them are in agreement with the award of the contract and who gets the contract. Now, as soon as you make that proposal to Mr. Granger, if he's in power, he will laugh you out of the room. And if you make that proposal to Mr. Ali, who will maybe in power soon, he will equally laugh you out of the room. Once you condescend to the particulars of what inclusive governance entails, neither side will go for it. And that is why it's impossible without a swing vote in Parliament, because it will have to be Parliament which mandates it by statute, by amending the legislation insofar as those statutory bodies are concerned, to remove the monopoly by the government and create boards that are truly inclusive, where neither side has the say. And that is difficult. Neither side will agree.
Yeah. But I think the culture has shifted a little bit. So there's a little bit of a paradigm shift because I think most Guyanese understand that this is a tense situation because there is the ethnic issue, and there are things that has to be done, and there are things that must be done, right, to address that issue. And that would be one example of something. But there are some very concrete things that both sides have to address. And I think people, we have to take it in faith that people are much more intelligent today. I think people are much more conscious about corruption. We're much more in tune, so we can see it and we can point it out. And I think you do have a more educated class of people. I mean, we're still we still have characteristics of a very, a third world country. But I do believe that if both sides work together, even if you may not have, and the reality is you may not have that swing votes. So the question is, what do we do? Do we sit back for 5 years and just spin the wheel the same way it is? I think pressure will come from the opposition, and I think with that kind of movement and that kind of pressure, you will have to have some kind of a shift towards addressing that ethnic issue, because both political parties are in a situation right now where they do believe that they're multi-ethnic. Right? And that's a problem. I think, like an alcoholic, they have to admit that they're not really representing all Guyanese. And I think that shift will come. It's not going to come very easy. It is as difficult as, we can talk about constitutional reform. But I think the fact that we don't have that third force doesn't just diminish all hope. And leave us where we are today, or 5 years ago, or 10 years ago. And I think that will come from, people like yourself, it's your political party putting the pressure, other, pressure group putting the pressure, young people getting involved. And I think it has to get to that point where you have that critical mass, where political leaders have to say, hey, the economy is good, we're all going to benefit, but at the same time, we need to put things in place to address these, or to create a more inclusive environment. And there are a lot of things that can be done, but those things have to be taken seriously.
Tim, just before you guys proceed, we are playing a video on screen presently. This is a video of Lowenfield addressing internal to GCOM there now. Not now, it happened earlier during the day, but have a look, and especially some of the questions that would have been asked of him. Devin, please proceed.
OVP party did not contest the general election in Region 4. How come they have 255 votes?
I'm not getting into that. No, we're going through a process now that speaks to the statements. I am not reporting on the returns on the statements. I have, and that is why we're here, a ticket that will be taking statements by statements, and I'm sure we'll get to OVP. So I'm not answering the question. No, the question will be answered.
Well, there's two parties I have questions.
Right. So when the process proceeds, you will ask about OVP and so on. So I hope you appreciate that. OVP is right here, we can speak for ourselves. Anything? Am I clear? Clearly understood? That being the case, ladies and gentlemen?
Procedurally, there's a ruling that we should.
Okay, that was just a brief clip to show that Mr. from the gentleman from URP, Bandu, would have asked a question. The clip goes on. I'm sure Devin can probably cue in another part of it where he's addressing the procedure that GCOM will follow. We also have another clip that we're queuing up where I think it's an audio clip. The president would have addressed supporters. We want to really play this one to ensure that the message gets out there. We do know that Dr. Jagde would have addressed his people earlier and asked them to be calm and to stay home. In this case, we have two clips. One is where the president, who has probably the highest, not probably, who has the highest authority in the land, He has addressed and asked his supporters to be calm and not to assemble at any place that is questionable. And also we have another video that is being queued up where the APNU camp is basically saying that they will stay out there and they're going to wait until they have their victory party going. Devin, when you're ready, please queue up the one with President Granger addressing the nation with regards to elections. Gentlemen, any questions for Tim as we continue this discussion in Elections Watch?
Yeah. My question to Tim is this. If you look at this election here and going back to 2015, what difference did you see? And I have a follow-up question to this.
If you're talking about the response of the loser, there's very little difference. And that's why I keep saying it's two sides of the same coin. You had the PPP raising objections, going to court, telling their protesters we've been robbed, we won this election. Interestingly, you had an incumbent PPP government saying that by some magic the opposition rigged the election. You're having the same crass nonsense now. So there's very little difference in terms of how, in our winner-take-all system, the loser must respond. When you are faced with being out in the wilderness for 5 years because you see you are going to lose the election and the writing is on the wall, there's not much you will not do to try to change that result. And both sides have demonstrated that in turn.
And comparative governments. I have not seen a model of inclusive government nowhere in the world. And I have not seen a model where you have a national front government, where you have all parties join the government and there's no opposition. So why are we going on these elusive terms in Guyana? We want a national front government. The PP and the PNC must come together and we must have an inclusive government. Where that exists?
You haven't seen it anywhere in the world. Where have you looked?
I haven't seen it.
Check Malaysia.
Where have you looked?
All over the world. We're talking about inclusive government.
Can you tell me what ANOC has said about its proposal about inclusive governance? Because we've given a very detailed one. We've given one in terms of statutory reform, and we've given one in terms of constitutional reform, and we've been specific. We haven't just used vague abstract terms. We've given a model. So what can you criticize ANOC's model?
No, I'm not criticizing it. I said I haven't seen it in the world where it exists. That's my point.
Can you criticize ANOC's model? Because what I can tell you is that ANOC's model is based on what exists in Switzerland.
Right.
So you didn't look in Switzerland.
No,
but you criticize ANOC's model?
But I looked in Switzerland.
Would you admit, please, that you haven't even troubled to look at
ANOC's No, Lloyd Jonas. Switzerland has an opposition party.
Anyway, Mr. Jonas, I have a question.
I'm not finished. Switzerland has an opposition party.
We have the video clip from President Granger. Please, let's have that on screen.
Switzerland has an opposition party.
Comrades, we worked very hard during our campaign and we came out with votes in our numbers on Monday. The situation is now that the entire process is in the hands of the Election Commission. As you know, some of the boxes have been counted, some still remain uncounted. I cannot make a declaration tonight because the Election Commission itself has all of the returning officers. APNU AFC has made some challenges in some of the regions. PPP has made some challenges. Right now, as I speak, verification is still taking place. So the numbers have not been verified. And we cannot make an announcement until the Election Commission makes a declaration. All of us had hoped that by now the declaration would be made, but it will not be made tonight. Verification is going on throughout the night. So I ask you to be patient, and we hope that tomorrow, Thursday, the chairman of the Election Commission will make some form of declaration. But right now it is quite impossible. Nobody knows the final scores. We have made some challenges to some of the figures that we have received from some regions, and the PPP has made some challenges. So tonight I ask you to remain calm. We are awaiting a declaration by the Election Commission, and as soon as we get word, we will make a public announcement. But right now, tonight, it is not possible. So I crave your indulgence. Let us patiently wait until the declaration comes from the Election Commission. And as soon as that comes, we will be in touch with you, our faithful supporters. Thank you for coming out, but tonight I cannot give you an announcement on the final scores. We are all watching and waiting. Thank you, and have a good night.
Yog, I do have some family responsibilities, so I'm going to bid you gentlemen good night for tonight. And Tim, good luck with the results, and hopefully we can have a bigger discussion on what is inclusive government. I think that's an important topic going forward, and of course constitutional reform.
Thank you very much, sir.
Gentlemen, good night, stay safe.
Good night.
All right, Doctor.
Thank you, Doctor.
All right, Tim, I have one for you too. You know, I think a lot of times we in Guyana, we always give ourselves a pass, and we hope that the politicians initiate some of these changes, like inclusive government and constitutional reform and so on. But we are also to blame. We get the government that we vote in, you know, so we select these people, so it has to they have to come a time when consciously we pick somebody who is going to do what we want, but we know these people that we're picking will not do what we want. I have no expectation that if Mr. Ali is the government with Jagdeep Baini, that we will have any form of inclusive government or constitutional reform. So we have to take the blame for the leaders we pick. What are your takes on that? Take responsibility for your action.
Well, I actually said today on a news feed that Guyana has gotten what it deserves. And maybe that was a bit harsh. Our problems are a bit more profound than that, and yet they're absolutely simple. We justify voting on ethnic grounds, and we call it the lesser of two evils. And we get enough middle class, educated, working class, honest people who rise above that ethnic divide, we will continue to vote along ethnic lines. I think there are enough people now who will rise above that. And I think that the people will feel empowered by having successfully removed the PPP and possibly now successfully removing APNU, not to be so afraid of the other side and to rise above that insecurity that you feel. Without the swing vote in Parliament, we will never have constitutional reform. And without the swing vote in Parliament, we will never have an opportunity to create the model for inclusive governance that a United Guyana has been preaching and has been talking about. Every decision that is made that relates to the purse strings in Guyana needs to be made by equal representation of APNU and PPP and with a swing vote by the third party. Every single decision. Once that happens, you will have transparency and you will have accountability. And that can be done at the legislative level with a swing vote in Parliament. It will not be done otherwise. The opposition will support it because without that, the opposition will get nothing because that's the starting point.
Right. So, gentlemen, we are joined by Mr. Brian Max from Max Media Productions. Brian, how are you?
Hi, yo, not too bad. I was moving around the town today again, showing some images of Georgetown and how quiet the town was.
Right, Brian. Sorry. Here is what we had some discussions early on. We were trying to get you, but unfortunately we couldn't. So here is the update from our side, and you tell us what you're seeing happening. We do know that crowds would have amassed around GCOM headquarters, but they have now dispersed. We are also aware that President Granger has issued a calming voice to his supporters, asking them, stay home and be calm and await the victory celebrations when after GCOM would have announced. So he has basically said, let's wait for GCOM. We also are aware that Barry Jagdev made the same kind of pronouncement. We do know that there was a snafu at GCOM earlier with the spreadsheet versus there. So we went through all of that. But what we also know is that you have been around town and you're currently, talking with people in the various communities, not just in the area that you live, but in and around Georgetown. Last night, to the viewers out there, I must say that last night, Brian did a fantastic job. We had a scare last night that people were marching on the road, and there were some videos being posted by communities along the East Coast, multiple videos. Brian himself decided, you know what, I'm going to go out there to see whether there is any cause for concern. We actually learned it was some guys who were marching to go just have fun and party and stuff like that, and that was quieted down. So, but Brian, how is the mood now in and around the city? Last night you gave us your view of what's happening in the car parks and workplace. Tell us what's happening or what happened today.
Well, in similar situations today. In fact, it's even quieter today because I was driving through town showing folks how on video, on live stream, how quiet the place was and how easy it was to maneuver through the city and to find parking down Regent Street. Almost all of the Chinese stores and a whole lot of other stores in Regent Street today were totally closed. And it's a complete inconvenience to Guyanese who are looking forward to this coming weekend for the Pago celebrations, because a lot of folks want to clean up their homes. They want to go and buy their beers and powder and stuff to enjoy this coming weekend. But it's a complete, they can't do anything. And with the indecision of GCOM, and today with the inability to count the Region 4 votes, and with that nonsense coming up where they brought out an Excel spreadsheet, and none of their numbers corresponded with the other observers, and they're pretty much being told by the political parties and the foreign observers, please bring the SOPs and let us compare and tabulate the score. Of course, the REO, the DEO, whatever it is, fell ill, and that put a little span in the works for a little while. He came back to office apparently. But our laws with elections are so tedious, so finely written, that if one individual is unable to come to work on that day, that critical day, when the votes are being tabulated, literally everyone stops working and nothing can be done until that one individual turns up. And I know it's a good safeguard to ensure that there is transparency and everything else, and that nobody else can do someone's job and all of that. But we need to have a review of our electoral system. Election day went perfectly. The counting of the ballots at the place of poll and the sign off of the state and the polls went perfectly. Now GCOM is in a quagmire where some of their staff are working against the rules and regulations that GCOM itself laid out, and they're working in the interest of themselves and maybe the political parties that they follow. And if you take on a job at GCOM, you're supposed to be neutral, and you have to try your very best to be a balanced human being and to put your country first and not your political party. If it is that you're noticing that the numbers are not going in favor of the political party that you follow and subscribe to, that means nothing to you, because at the end of the day, you're supposed to be a neutral person. You're being paid a salary, and a pretty decent salary at that, to do a job. And suddenly you're allowing your personal feelings to get involved in this nation problem. It's bigger than every one of us.
So Brian, so Brian, we are playing while you can't see it, Brian, because you're only connected by voice with us. I don't know if you can see on your phone. But viewers, we are actually sharing a video behind on screen, compliments of Brian himself and of Max Media Productions, that speaks to that speaks to the RO being ill today and being taken to the hospital and so forth. We do know that now he is okay and the process is going. Brian, here's my question for you in terms of the mood out there. We have another video that shows that the victory celebration, the intent or the victory camp of Atlamaha, I think, of APNU AFC is there, and they plan to go all night until they have a declaration of victory. Have you had any discourse with people there, and what are they thinking?
I didn't have a chance to speak to anyone there because I was actually out of town today. I went all the way up to Mahaica just to have a chance to see what the mood was in the countryside and to talk to, I spoke to a lot of people. We didn't get to live stream it today because the internet connection was pretty poor today.
Right.
But we talked to a lot of people, and folks are attempting to go about their lives, but this election, Quagmire is holding up progress, is holding up people's lives in Guyana.
Right.
And it's just unfortunate. You know, but I tell you something, all of the two major parties, APNU, AFC, and the PPP, they all had statements of polls in their possession the night of the election from their observers on the ground.
Correct.
PNC knew by 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock the night, they knew they were ahead. APNU had the same amount of statement of polls they knew. But yet you have persons in the APNU leadership, especially one individual who's a lawyer and who is highly respected in society for being a lawyer, and that is James Bond, who is openly telling his supporters, we won. And he fully well knows, he totally knows that they did not win. And it is totally irresponsible of James Bond, and I have lost complete respect for that individual. I don't even want to hear his name right now because I heard my phone is ringing and APNU supporters are calling me. And they said, Brian, tell us the truth. Are we ahead or are we behind? Because our leadership is saying we are ahead. I said, it is extremely unfortunate I have to break the news to you. Your party is losing. The PPP is ahead of you by 15 or 18,000 votes.
So Brian,
that is not what we get from James Bond.
Right, Brian, just a second. Meanwhile, you're deliberating, and I'd like to ask our panelists whether you have any questions. And we have Tim online too, Brian. I know you have a good, healthy respect for Tim, Mr. Jonas. While you're interacting with each other, let me just say this, that I've gotten an inbox message here saying that for Region 7, APNU is 4,489 and PPPC is 3,406. Let me repeat that. APNU is 4,489 and PPPC is 3,406.
That's what it happens.
For the difference would be 1,083. 1,083. So Stabrook News, it basically goes with what Stabrook News would have predicted today, that the trend of the 2015 elections, if one were to do the numbers, would show how these things are going to play out. Sorry, Brian, I know that I cut you off there, but we were talking about the victory camp and the celebrations and the reality. Now, the truth is, Brian, that we also discussed in studio here, and I'm sure you would agree with us, that, you know what, regardless of how any side feels, the truth is, Tim and Sanjeev has advised us and has advised everyone. We have to wait on the official declaration by GCOM, whether that's tomorrow or the next day, but it is GCOM that is the only authority to so declare. So Brian, yes, sorry. Yeah. So Charles, any questions for Brian? Any questions from our other panelists?
You know what? Yeah, I think we're really, we are saying things that we know. The whole country knows, the numbers. We know tomorrow will be Thursday. I don't have to tell anyone tomorrow is Thursday. We know that because that's the order of things in the universe. As we have been hearing since Monday night, the PPP and APNU, they have all the statements of poll. They know what the number is. They know the game. So to go out and say something that is absolutely false, I think it's treacherous, it is criminal, it is because the society is so tense right now. You telling me I win, the other side telling their supporter they win. Two of us can't win the same election, Charles, and that's the problem.
Charles, just sorry to interject in your thinking, your line of thought. We are having a video being played in the background. Let's listen in.
Right? When we see some displays of a rock that had some poison. But listen, we put this camp, we cooking food, we standing it out, we standing with David Granger. Tell G come announce. Then we gonna continue the victory party and we going. We don't want you home lock up. Stay close to your leader people. Stay close. Listen, we gonna provide for you. Listen, we walk in the walk, we talk in the talk. That's what we're saying. No, more you just get in, you just play and make these people happy. Right? One more. Right now we're going to transform this place here to the Ministry of Happiness. Cook, enjoy yourself, be vigilant when you want coach or in the mix-up.
I think we get it just a bit. Let's move on. I must tell viewers that this video has been superseded. David Granger was later on, earlier tonight. He has basically to ask people to be calm. I'm going to ask Tim for your comment on what we saw there. I know he would, Tim, I'm sorry, but I know you would give us the most pragmatic response to this.
Let's get a good answer there, Tim.
Well, you've seen it. That is not something that is going to result in everybody peacefully going home if they get bad news. And it's not intended to do so. We live in a society where 50% of the people looking at that speaker are afraid and resentful. 50%. The other 50%, even the moderates, hope she's right. But the loyalists are up, hue and cry, their blood is up, the temperature is high. She hasn't helped Guyana there. She hasn't demonstrated patriotism. She hasn't demonstrated inclusivity. She hasn't demonstrated leadership. What she's done is shown that she is not fit for leadership. And despite that, we try to give President Granger a blight. But this isn't the first time that that lady has been guilty of this kind of thing. And despite her repeated failures in that regard, he protects her, he keeps her there, he hasn't removed her, he hasn't even criticized her. So he's part of the problem. And unfortunately, we live with that kind of thing on both sides. On both sides. Because when the PPP were in power, they did the same thing. They protected their own, they hid their own corruption. And we didn't see the strands fraying until they started to realize they were going to lose an election. So it's on both sides. And unfortunately, our leaders are not interested in Guyana. They are interested in keeping power.
Brian?
Well, definitely, as I mentioned earlier, we had the same attitude coming out of Mr. James Bond, who is a highly recognized lawyer in Guyana, and he's in the top leadership of the PNC. And for James Bond to knowingly, he knows that the PPP has won. Everybody with the statements of poll, everybody in the political circle in Guyana, all the political, the foreign observers, everybody knows that the PPP is ahead by at least 18,000 votes. And for James Bond to be this irresponsible, I am at the verge of asking the police to charge Mr. James Bond for creating public mischief, because that is exactly what he's doing immediately right now. He's creating public mischief by misleading the UPNU supporters and giving the diehards and the persons who are hoping against all hope that their party is ahead. I don't give them wrong for wanting to be under their own leadership, but
right. Brian, I have somebody in studio that will disagree with you.
Let me go first.
Yes. I would want to ask Brian your name.
No, let me go first.
To come in.
I'm Brian Max and Brian Collins. I think you guys are taking a too much pessimistic approach. I mean, people have a right to object and to show some emotion. What we have to do is to channel it in the right way, even if they lose and even if they are fearful. And they can challenge, even though the results are published, they can challenge it, but we can just do it in a legal and a peaceful way, right? We can do it in a court of law. So until all those avenues have been exhausted, then we can say, okay, you have lost, you know. But you have to let the process play out, even though they're behind, you know. They can challenge it and they can go to court. We don't know if they're going to win or lose. So that's my take on it. But it should be peaceful. I'm not saying that every objection is going to lend itself to violence. I mean, you know, but we have a right to challenge things. Like, I am making a point here. All my friends strongly disagree. Region 3 had a participation rate of like 100% or 101%. That can be challenged. You know, I can challenge that. You know, population is 108,000. On the 18 people, like 35, 36,000, you can't have participation of 100%. I can challenge that. So you have to allow people space to challenge all these things. Then, if they lose, then we can, you know, say, okay, we fought a hard battle and we lost. But we gotta give people space to do that.
I like Brian's excitement and his passion and energy.
Yeah.
The government spent over $100 million to determine that 33 is not the majority of 65.
That's good money because for future
we wasted $100 million for a high school student. As a matter of a grade 3 student will tell us that in any math, 33 is the majority of 65.
Right.
But we spent $100 million for that.
I beg to differ. You see, there's something in the U.S. called rule of law. We have to take it to the highest court, and then it is settled, is what is called settled law and precedent. People will always have disagreement over a lot. I'm not a lawyer, you're a lawyer, but people have disagreement, and you have to let it go through the legal process. Now it is settled. If it comes up again, we know what's the answer. So a lot of these issues that are kind of nebulous and cloudy, we need to take it to court and let the final court settle it.
I just want to say this.
I don't think it's wasted money.
If we have to go to court to determine that 34 is a half of 65, then we don't know no arithmetic. We don't know no arithmetic.
If you don't want to go to court, you live in a lawless place because people take it out on each other. So that is why America is different from places. You take it to court. There's no idea that you're right. You know, the courts will decide and have a legal theory what is the right one. You know, so we got to take it to court.
But Tim, having said the same thing there, if in that same context, when the appeals court ruled 2-1 that 34 is the majority, then that doesn't stand because 2-1 is same as 34 to 65.
No.
So I don't understand.
No, the court's got to decide.
I would like to make a comment.
I don't think it's wasted money.
I would like to make a comment.
Respond to Brian.
Yeah.
If I can respond to Brian.
Yeah, okay.
I have no issue with holding on and fighting a good fight.
Yeah.
Fight to the last, fight to the end. But you know that you're losing by 18,000 votes because you have
challenge
the poll. Why are you misleading your followers and giving them the indication that you are ahead?
Politics.
In fact, they're being told you're ahead by 10,000 votes. Why are you lying to your supporters? You're misleading.
Let me just say this.
Very gullible people.
Yeah, let me just say this, that at GCOM, the process continues as we speak. We do know that they have taken, I mean, all of this news is coming out and it may be relevant given the timing and everything that's happening. We do know that they have taken a break to have some stuff to eat and so forth. But it's worrying that one person, whether it was a joke or not, it's worrying that one person said that, you know, they should really be finished for the night. But the CEO has stated very, very clearly that we will continue into the night. GCOM chairman has also said that they're going to continue, and you know, so we're waiting more feedback to see what is really happening there. We don't know, people are tired, but we would like to also address GCOM and say, listen, not just the pulse of this nation or not just the future of this nation, but every man, woman, and child depend on you at this moment. So keep it going. We're behind you. We're backing you. Keep it up. Yes, gentlemen, sorry to interject there. I just wanted to give that feedback that there seemed to be some confusion coming out about continuing or not continuing.
But what are they continuing with the statement of polls, or are they going with the Excel spreadsheet that they had earlier?
Well, they're going with the SOPs. We had Sanjeev Dattid in here talking from GCOM, and he said that yes, Tim has also verified that the process has continued per law, which is all they have asked for.
Per law, right? That's all we need.
Yeah.
I believe in fighting a good fight.
We have
fight to the end. Fight fair, but do not mislead. Do not tell your fighter who is being beaten into his corner that he's ahead when he's behind. I mean, I know you want to motivate your people, you want to keep the spirits up, but you're misleading them. And with this built up that James Bond and his other friends are doing to PNC supporters, APNU supporters, you're leading them down a very treacherous road. And when you lead them up and you tell them we are ahead by 10,000, we're beating the PPP when you're not, and you know that you're 18,000 votes behind. What is going to happen when those people hear the real count when it comes out and runs down the road and decide to create havoc in the city? I'm going to hold James Bond personally responsible for this. Personally responsible. And I'm hoping that the laws of this country, the police is looking, and they're taking it into consideration of charging James Bond and put him before the court for creating public mischief. It is about time that people tell, like James Bond, it's time of day.
So Brian, I mean, as you're there, and Tim, I know that you may have other stuff to do. I'll just ask you, Tim, to stay on for a couple minutes more. We want to queue up one more video where Keith Lowenfield would have been speaking to reporters outside of GCOM at the command center. We're just queuing it up. As soon as Devin has it ready, he will play. So guys, if while you're talking you become interrupted with the video, please bear with us. We just want to make sure we get that out.
Yeah.
Hear what you said there, but I want you to know this also, that every Guyanese know that the government has lost the election. Even the supporters know that. It's not that they don't know it. So listening to the rhetoric of whoever it is, the reality steps in that, you know what, time is up. And I like what Tim said. 5 years, we had this APNU AFC government. They are voted out of office now. In 5 years' time, if the PP messed up, guess what?
Vote them
the
out.
electorate will say, let's vote these bitches out too. So I'm glad we are doing that. So people will realize that, hey, you can't do what you did before because guess what? We will vote you out come next election. So I think calm will prevail. I think the Guyanese people are mature enough. Yes, everybody's having excitement and they're saying things that they shouldn't say, but that's fine. At the end of the day, everything will be fine. We'll have a new government. And, you know, we hope that calm will prevail in the country.
Let me just echo what Charles said. I know it might not be practical, but if every 5 years you change governments in Guyana, then and only then they're going to respect the people.
Fantastic.
And cut this thing off from this racial voting. Then and only then. You do it for at least the next 20 years, you'll see major changes. But it might not be practical.
I had an amazing conversation today with a PPP supporter. I was at the corner of the Embankment Road, and that road that turns into Bel Air, with a lady selling egg ball, and I was having a morning breakfast, having an egg ball there. And a PPP support, I pointed to the post where there was a PPP poster. And I said, are we going to hold your fund when he's elected, when he's sworn in? Are we going to hold him to that promise? And that guy said, let me tell you something, Mr. Max. I've been following your program on the internet. I am going to personally back you up, and we're going to hold your finale accountable for every single promise that he's made. We can give him a break for his first 100 days, but after that, I want your finale to know that we will be expecting everything that he told us. All the promises must be kept, and the corruption must be kept in check as well. And this is from a group of people, because everyone echoed the same sentiment. And it is amazing to hear Guyanese coming of age, where we are actually holding the politicians to their promises, and we are actually awakening in such a way that we're moving away from racial voting, because
Ryan,
we're at an amazing crossroad where people have reached a point where they said, enough is enough. We had 50-something years of mismanagement, and we allowed you to play games with us. We're demanding, regardless of race, and support for your party, if you don't do what you promise to do and you don't better our lives, we will remove you in 5 years. And this is, I have always dreamt that we had reached at this watershed moment, and we're finally here in Guyana. And I think it augurs well for the small parties like ANU and the other smaller, Mr. Sherman and everybody. I think this is the watershed moment for Guyana. We finally at the crossroads where racial voting might finally be behind us.
Brian, thank you, Brian. Let me let us play that video, and after we play this video with Lowenfield's interaction with the media, I know Tim will have to go, and you know, we have some other stuff we want to discuss. But Tim, I would like your comment too on this video. Let's get it going.
What exactly is going to be down here? That is the observer party agents and everybody else early today.
So let me chronicle the day's events. We were scheduled to have commenced this morning. We were scheduled to have commenced our activities as far as the continuation of the verification process for District 4. This morning, the returning officer for District 4, he took ill. He was taken to the hospital. So there was initial stoppage. We could not have commenced until much later when the clerk to the returning officer was advised to continue the process. The process of verification commenced in earnest at probably 2, I can't recall the exact timing. And during the process, some errors were discerned. We would have completed the first 8 statements, and there were some errors contained in 6 of the 8, for example, statements. The representatives of the party, along with the observers, spoke with me. We stopped the process. I inquired what is. I was advised, and I advised my staff, along with the agents and the observers, that I'll engage the commission, Madam Chair and commissioners, as to the way forward. That was done.
What was the nature of those errors?
I wasn't there. They said errors. I believe them when they say they were errors. The errors, no doubt, are arithmetic. A statement of poll contains votes the party has. So I'm assuming it's not a spelling error. It has to be with the numbers. So the commission, Madam Chair and commissioners deliberated, and we agreed at the end of the day, of the evening, that we will do the verification using statements to statements. So I take out my statement, you bring your statement, we go through the numbers on the statements. There continues to be errors. There is a procedure as prescribed for us to do that. By the end of the day, that doesn't work, the CEO will be involved with his statement to have a resolution to the issue. So we are now settled. All the observers and all the agents for the respective parties are in there, and we will continue the process, commencing with East Bank, then the East Coast, and whatever residual statements we have for Georgetown. Once that process is completed, and we're working to finish, there will be a declaration for Region 4, as has already happened in all the other districts. So that there's a declaration. Then the law prescribes once there is a declaration by noon of the following day, if there are any recounts, that will be done. And that moves us towards the final declaration of the results of 2020 elections.
How many SOBs are you looking at?
For East Bank, we're talking 192. And for the East Coast, I think there is another 100 and 70 something plus.
And Georgetown?
We've completed Georgetown. We've completed North and South Georgetown in the verification process.
And the timeline for the completion, do you have one?
Estimate. Well, these estimates don't go well when I do them. When I return there, the first 5 days when I finish, I can do an approximation of time. But as I said here, I can't, because if there are 4 errors, party A says they have 5, the other say they have 6, the other one say they have 7, then that will have to be resolved before we move the statement over.
Let me put it another way. Worst case scenario.
I'm not going worse. We're working to ensure everything is in order in the fastest possible time.
What can you tell the populace at this time?
Like Madam Chair has said, and all the observer groups who would have had a immediate briefing, that they should remain calm. At the moment, what the Commission is striving to ensure, that while they understand the anxiety on the part of the citizenship, we do not want to ensure transparency is lost in the entire process. So at the time, the whole posture is to ensure there's transparency in the process and plead with citizens to remain calm so that we have the correct results that will be to the satisfaction of all, I dare say, to all. Thank you very much.
Sir, one more question. With regarding the code of conduct that was signed by the political parties, is there anything you want to remind them?
We can take it away. Gentlemen, we are waiting confirmation. Whilst you're contemplating your comments there, we're waiting confirmation from, I just got some text here from GCOM that apparently some of the polling officers are extremely tired. And there seems to be another developing issue there now, that they're saying they're too tired to continue and to continue into the night. We're awaiting confirmation from our sources within GCOM, but that seems to be the latest that's happening. And the international community is also very keen on what is happening there now, because they supposedly took a break at 9 o'clock, 15 minutes break, but basically some people would have left. That's what we heard. It's unverified. We are waiting confirmation. Gentlemen, your comments about, and Tim, your comments about Lowenfield's recap of the day.
Well, first of all, I could verify what you just said.
Okay.
They got through 33 polling stations, places of poll, and they took a break, and then they did 3 more, and then over objections, Mr. Lowenfield decided everyone was tired and needed to go home. Although these people have committed to the international community to work through the night to get this thing done. So I really hope they have taken care to secure the statement poll to keep them safe. There are parties from both sides watching, because I am not comfortable, and I do not trust the people who are working behind the scenes in that building. So they have closed off, they resume tomorrow, and every single delay, I think, puts us more into shades of gray and blurs lines. So there you have it. I can confirm that.
Okay, thank you for that. Gentlemen, and panel, what's your observation?
But what I want to say though, GCOM has the statements of polls plus the parties. So no matter what happens, those parties will present the statement of polls. So they have to secure it. They can't be this bold or brave to say, well, they're going to do something and throw a statement of polls or whatever it is. But Georgetown is finished counting, so that's very important. The East Coast and the East Bank, that's about...
They can't be so bold again.
Pardon me?
They were so bold as to try to use, they can't be so bold again.
Right.
Because they were so bold to try to use
spreadsheet.
I think what
Spreadsheet.
said doesn't really set
What's that?
up.
I mean,
The report said there was a process.
No, we said, anyway. Look, the thing is that Georgetown finished counting, I think the East Coast got about 190 ballots or something, but 90 polling stations, and the East Bank got about maybe 108. So tomorrow they should be able to finish doing that. You know, I'm hoping, we're hoping, because
Well, I'm going to look for confirmation that Georgetown is complete. I haven't received confirmation.
well, Lowenfield just said it. But the thing is, the nation cannot continue like this. It's 40% of the economy is actually dead as we speak because of GCOM delaying the result of this election. You know.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you for that. Brian, any final thoughts from you before I let you go?
Yeah, I want to use this opportunity to call on the APNU leadership, including President David Arthur Granger. Please do not mislead your voters, your supporters, into thinking that you have won. You know through the statement of polls that the PPP is ahead. If you want to tell them something to give them some hope, tell them, look, we're holding on. We're still in the fight. Maybe we'll have something. But do not tell them that you have won. They're celebrating right now in Linden, a party. And a group is driving over with a big motorcade over to Wismar. They're celebrating this victory in Linden. You're misleading your voters, your supporters, and it's unfortunate. And I don't know how you're going to unwind when in 2 days or tomorrow the election results are announced. How are you going to unwind after leading your people up into this frenzy? How are you going to unwind and tell them, well, okay, we were just playing a game and we were hoping for the best? You can't be hoping for the best when you already know the statement polls show. Everybody has a statement of polls. Everybody. I've seen enough of it to know that PPP is ahead by 18,000 votes. And I don't have the mechanism of APNO AFC, PNC, or PPP, but yet, through friends and people have been showing me information, the information is out there. So why are you misleading people? And especially James Bond of the APNO leadership, he must be held accountable, because if the supporters of APNO AFC, when the truth comes out and the election results are declared and the PPP is announced as the winner, and they run down the road because suddenly they've been robbed, we were told we were ahead and suddenly we were robbed, James Bond, we're going to hold you personally responsible. And you might end up in jail for this, because at some point we've got to make an example out of somebody. And I'm going to call on the Guyana Police Force, the Ethics Regulation Commission, everybody to look into this matter and keep an eye on Mr. Bond. Apparently he thinks he's a movie star or something, because he's operating as if he is in a James Bond movie.
Brian, just don't put our platform in trouble. This guy, I mean, we have Tim here, but that doesn't mean Tim is we have to be careful about
I understand all of that, but at some point, he is instigating he is misleading his supporters. He is. I've been following his live streams and stuff like he's misleading his people. And it's unfortunate he's doing that.
So to confirm, I've just gotten another call, Tim, and you are absolutely spot on. To confirm some of the ROs and well, some of the persons, I'm not going to call names. Two of the persons specifically said they were too tired to continue, and so they basically walked off. And at that stage, the chairman said we'll continue tomorrow, and that is what is the latest at GCOM. A nation held at ransom by GCOM. So, gentlemen, Brian, what's your thoughts, man?
No, this is on a separate issue.
Brian, too.
This is Brian Carlson, addressed to Tim. I have a disagreement over here with my colleague. He said, taking that case with the 33 and 34 to the Caribbean Court of Justice was a waste of time. $100 million a waste of time and money. In my view, that is how the legal process should work.
A taxpayer shouldn't pay for it.
No, let me speak. If we have a disagreement, we take it to court, all the various levels of court, then it goes to the final court, and they make a decision, and we know from now on forevermore that is what stands. That is how it works in this country. So it is not right for you to one person to believe, oh, this is right, and forget everything. So that's the process how it should work. It takes things through the court, let it go through the process, and let the supreme judges decide this will be the law of the land from now on. So I don't think that's a waste of money. What are your thoughts?
Having said that, I know Tim coming a minute. Our laws is based on the English common law, and common law come a lot from common sense. And if we don't have common sense, we have a big problem.
We had two judges rule one way and one rule the other way. So what are your thoughts?
So gentlemen, we have Sanjeev Dattadin. We have Sanjeev Dattadin on air at the same time. So let's listen into his interview there.
Push back more, a process that should have been completed by now. If you recall, the first, they said it was by Tuesday midday,
We're not getting any
for which
audio.
they delivered 6% of the electorate.
We're hearing.
Any person who was doing their job and did 6% of the job would be fired.
Are you getting audio, Yoga? I'm not hearing you at all.
We're not getting
They have the resources. They have deputy returning officers all across.
The audio is not coming over Devin.
They should get those deputy returning officers. They should resume the count. Use the statement to polls and continue. Because having regard to what we have seen happen before, the last time we had a break, the PPP is very nervous about what this is going to be and what other thing is going to arise. When are we going to finish this process?
I want to ask you, when you restarted the verification process, did the statements of poll that you had in your possession match those that GCOM now had, as opposed to the spreadsheet that they were using earlier?
Well, on the spreadsheet, it didn't match because there were 60, 80, 100 more votes for only app. Now, since the restart, every SOP that was done by GCOM and everyone in the room matched, including Apple, including the PVP, including the smaller parties. Every statement the poll has
Alright,
matched.
so it's basically, it's a verification of what Tim would have alerted us and the calls we received. You can cut the video, Dev. It's a verification of what we would have known. Yeah. So, gentlemen, what are your thoughts on this latest? I must say, I must say, I believe that GCOM is holding the nation at ransom now. This is irresponsibility.
Tim, and maybe you also. Is there only one person from a political party who would have to be there to do the verification, or they can have, you're tired, okay, you go home, I will take over? Why isn't that happening?
One of the reasons for my disgust with GCOM is they have from the beginning been quite happy to try to sideline and exclude the small parties. And I believe they're showing a preference. As you know from nomination day, when although we were there waiting to present our lists, they allowed the APNU incumbent to jump ahead. From that day one, they have demonstrated a favoritism, a bias. And what they said to us during the sessions is that they will allow only one candidate from the party into each of the regional offices for this count. So Region 4 had one. Now, when we got there today, we saw APNU folk and PPP folk streaming in and out. But they nevertheless said to us that unless you're the presidential candidate, only the single person who has this badge will be allowed in. So what happens with that is that when you have a marathon 9-hour session, that one person cannot physically manage that. So that although the two parties work a relay system and they have many individuals in there, again, the small parties have been sidelined and excluded and therefore are not in a position to monitor the process. So now they've closed off. Do we have somebody who can sit there to watch those boxes and watch the building until tomorrow? No, we have to hope that nothing happens. And we have to hope that our single observer gets his sleep and gets back there in time. Nobody else jumps the line tomorrow to interfere with things. That has been the symptom of GCOM's management of this election, and it is not visible. It's not overt in your face, but it is. It undermines the process.
No, my question really is, does it have to be the returning officer himself got to be there for the verification? Does the law says that, or can there be the deputy returning officer, maybe someone appointed by them for that purpose in case someone is tired? That's what I'm asking. Is that what the law?
From GCOM side?
Yeah, from GCOM side. Yeah.
Well, the system will always cater for the man in charge getting a heart attack and somebody replacing him. So in this case, Mr. Mingo suddenly and inexplicably fell ill at a critical time and disappeared. I understand he's much better. We're all very happy about that.
He's probably hungry.
But in the meantime, I don't see why a deputy could not have continued the process. The parties were represented, the statements of poll were there, and they could have got on with it rather than wasting half a day and then trying to talk about summaries on data sheets.
We're getting another video that we're hoping to play. Tim, I'm sorry, we're really holding on to you tonight. and Brian was...
I found this very interesting. I was glad to listen, and I'm actually waiting to answer Brian's question about the right to pursue your legal options to the end.
Okay. We have another, meanwhile, we have another video that we are queuing up where President David Granger is addressing his people with regards to the expectations of results and the timelines. And I'm not saying that he specifically addressed that as the point of his conversation, but it certainly formed part of the discussion. Devin, whenever you're ready, please interrupt us and play the video. Meanwhile, the discussion continues. Yes, sorry to interrupt you, Tim.
In every system that is created, people like us sit down and discuss things in abstract terms, trying to create the system. And when you discuss things in abstract terms, generally the concepts you express are true in an abstract. Right. So it is absolutely undeniable that if you have a right, you have a right to litigate that in court all the way to the end, to pursue it, right, if you believe in the justice of your cause. True. And if you're not happy the first go round to appeal and to appeal until the appellate processes are concluded, no one can dispute that. And in an abstract, that's wonderful.
Correct.
The worst and most unethical, dishonest, despicable decisions are made behind the camouflage of that kind of abstract system. It is in the bureaucracies that decisions are made to exclude someone from a promotion, or to exclude someone from getting their pension, or to dismiss someone. You do it behind the closed doors of bureaucracy, in boardrooms, in commissions. You do it feeling safe that no one will call you out. And when you begin to hide behind the systems and preach integrity, saying we have a right to do this, knowing full well that you are being dishonest with yourself, true, that your motive is unethical, right, and that your purpose in using the system is not to achieve a just result, but to delay, to cause harm, to hurt your enemy. Mm-hmm. In the New Testament, Paul says we all have a small voice.
That's right.
And what I will ask you, in your small voice, if anyone in this room believes that 33 is not more than half of 65, and if anyone here believes that when those lawyers, all APNU appointed, went to argue that at 3 tiers, if any one of those lawyers believed that 33 is not more than half of 65, do not hide behind the camouflage of an institution that is designed to allow a just person to pursue his just belief. Do not allow that institution to camouflage what is a dishonest act. And that is what you're trying to do.
Yeah. So let's have this video played. Devin, please play.
Thank you very much. All right, now we are orderly people, we are disciplined people. So let us just do that. Right? Okay, so tonight you have the privilege of having His Excellency the President come over here to speak to you. His Excellency the President is going to make a statement, and after that we expect follow the instructions which we will give to you. Okay? So, I give to you. Hello, I asked you for some quiet and to be disciplined. Right? Let us show that we are respectful. All right? No, just please. Now I ask of you, the horns and so on, please just refrain from the use of it while His Excellency is going to be speaking, and just have some order. That's all I'm asking of you, okay? Thank you very much, my comrades. You're being good to us, and we will continue to be good to you. So I give to you our President. Comrades, we worked very hard during our campaign, and we came out with votes in our numbers on Monday. The situation is now that the entire process is in the hands of the Election Commission. As you know, some of the boxes have been counted, some still remain uncounted. I cannot make a declaration tonight because the Election Commission itself has all of the returning officers. APNU AFC has made some challenges in some of the regions. PPP has made some challenges. Right now, as I speak, verification is still taking place. So the numbers have not been verified. And we cannot make an announcement until the Election Commission makes a declaration. All of us had hoped that by now the declaration will be made, but it will not be made tonight. Verification is going on throughout the night. So I ask you to be patient, and we hope that tomorrow, Thursday, the chairman of the Election Commission will make some form of declaration. But right now, it is quite impossible. Nobody knows the final scores. We have made some challenges to some of the figures that we have received from some regions, and the PPP has made some challenges. So tonight, I ask you to remain calm. We are awaiting a declaration by the Election Commission, and as soon as we get word, we will make a public announcement. But right now, tonight, it is not possible. So I crave your indulgence. Let us patiently wait until the declaration comes from the Election Commission. And as soon as that comes, we will be in touch with you, our faithful supporters. Thank you for coming out, but tonight I cannot give you an announcement on the final scores. We are all watching and waiting. Thank you, and have a good night. Thank you very much.
That's a video of President Granger addressing his supporters, and I must give credit. He did call on them to be calm, to await the final results, and obviously that statement was made before GCOM called off the count for the night. Gentlemen, your comments.
You can go through the legal system.
Yeah, comments. Mike, I don't want to comment on that because basically it's what it is. We gotta wait for GCOM to verify statement of polls and the results. My comment is a little wider. I think this society, Guyana.
Your audio is breaking up.
Okay. My comment is in Guyana. In Guyana, we have a history. We have inherited a history of authoritarian structures and a culture of authoritarianism. But in that very culture, we are looking for democratic practices. It's a big leap. Sisyphus pushing a stone uphill. I don't know, we'll get there, but when? That's my comment.
Yeah, we gotta allow people space to object.
I must say that I'm sure you and Brian Max will agree with me that there was the general expectation, gentlemen and viewers, there was a general expectation across the nation that the GCOM process would be completed tonight. That was the general expectation, that if they were carrying on smartly, they would have completed tonight and then maybe use the rest of the year to rest. But that is now not so. So we have to now await that GCOM's. We are at the pleasure of GCOM, I guess.
Dr. Mario, I want to also say something for both Tim and for Brian. We always have to allow people space to object with things they disagree on. It's like, I strongly feel that Region 3 presents an statistical impossibility with 100% participation. I mean, it shouldn't be shut down. That is my strong, heartfelt belief that there is something amiss there, because it is an impossibility to have 100% participation. It happens in dictatorial countries like North Korea, Russia, Egypt in those days. So you guys gotta allow people space with these things. No, I have to bang it because I don't want to be shut down with it. I have to bang it home to people.
No, but Brian, you're taking around the proverbial circle, and I've said, we have all asked you that, for you to say,
challenge, no, people got to challenge. We have to allow it to be challenged.
Yeah, but 70,000 persons voting over a voters list of 100,000. You are questioning an improbability of youngsters and so forth. In other words, you're bringing in the argument of the population versus voters list. That we can't argue. And Tim has rightly said that therein lies election challenges and petitions and so forth.
And we got a lot of space for it.
The process
it's not petty, it's a strong. We got a lot of challengers. Space for it.
Tim, I just want to say this to you, Lord Jonas, that what you said about the taking the matter to the court and deception of using institutions and so forth, this 34, 33, whatever it is, there's not a single person in this world will believe, any child who knows how to add and subtract, who knows a little arithmetic, will tell you that 34 is the half of 65. But that's not it. There was a lawyer that the government hired from Grenada. I forgot his name. He got a $5 million US book contract now to write a book called The Demise of Guyana Constitutional Law. He got a $5 million contract, US dollar contract, to write a book on that. So this guy not only profited from being paid by the Guyana government, now he's making more profits by writing about the
reason why Guyana is a poor country. But attitude like that is why we're poor. We have to let the legal process work it
now, the other thing I want to do says this. If you know something is wrong, but in your head it's telling you that you're right, and you take it to court, the thing is, if you're spending your own money from your pocket, you'll never go to a court. But when you're spending other people's money, you'll take it to a court. And that's what they did. If money was coming from their pocket, they will never go to court for that.
That is a specious argument. Wrong and right is always relative. I mean,
okay. So
somebody got a right to being gay. You might think it's wrong, and he might think it's right. So wrong and right is always relative. So don't bring those kind of dogmatic, silly arguments. It's dogmatic and silly.
I get you. So gentlemen, we will be wrapping up, because if GCOM is not there, there's nothing to there's nothing to follow on because we're not expecting.
Except Brian venting is.
I want to go back to Brian's statement. Brian is using this program tonight to throw a red herring out that there were issues in Region 3.
No,
not a single observer made any reference to the voting pattern in Region 3. None of the foreign observers had an issue with Region 3. But this gentleman is using this show tonight to throw a red herring out, to throw it out to his supporters, that they would overvote in Region 3.
I never said so. I said a statistical anomaly.
No objection.
A statistical anomaly.
Using this show.
Is a statistical.
No, you cannot say that. It's not
Yeah.
so, because not a single individual other than you have brought up this argument so far.
Because I deal with numbers all the time, and I know it's an anomaly.
You're just an argumentative person. You're just throwing red herring out unnecessarily.
It's not a red herring.
It's unfortunate that you're doing that.
It's not a red herring.
It took one man, to both Brian's, it took one man to say 34 was not a majority, right? So, Brian, I guess one of Brian might achieve that same statistics in history. But, you know, I must remind you, I just got an inbox reminder, and I know that Tim has pragmatically told us that, look, all of these things about court cases, I mean, where has it taken us? Is it really taking us forward, or we're just going around the circle? But the truth is that also, remember there was an elections petition filed in 2015, since 2015 by the PPP, and that hasn't seen the light of day as yet. So we have a weird way of assessing these things, and you know, it all depends on which side of the coin we spin for and stuff like that.
And just to mention one thing, if you don't mind,
yes, sir.
I just got an update here as well. With Region 7 now being declared, APNU has 100,682 votes. PP has 152,121. So PP still lead by 52,000, with Region 4 left to come in. So if
51,440.
Charles, repeat it. Sorry, Tim, repeat it.
I have here
knows by 51,440 votes.
Right.
They lead the APNU by 51,440 votes.
So if APNU wins Region 4 by more than that, then they win the election.
Yeah.
The probability of it happening is very remote.
Why? You're saying remote?
Well, based on our history.
43,000 the last time.
But they have the statement of polls already.
No, that 43,000. I don't know. You saw them. I don't have those statements. 43,000.
Yes,
just
the one back for
8,000 more. I mean, just 8,000 more.
So Brian, here is a question for you, Brian Collison. Here is a question for you. So if the PPP is leading by 51,440 votes, and you were saying that APNU AFC would have excited more of the Region 4 people to vote for them.
I'm not saying. I said a possibility.
But that's a probability that you're bringing in.
I'm not saying I don't have numbers.
Maybe an extra 100.
Yeah, you're also therefore bringing in a factor that somehow or the other there is a huge surge over and above the population for Region 4 as well.
I'm not saying anything. I'm not saying anything. You're making an assumption. I'm just saying possibility and probability. That is how we speak. I don't have numbers here. So I'm just saying possibility. So it is not something you guys can dismiss out the van. Because at the same time, suppose they get 58,000 more. You're going to riot in the streets?
Well,
okay,
no,
so the total votes cast, is 252,000 so far with all the regions except Region 4. So are we saying Region 4 have a voting population of 400,000?
No.
That's not possible.
No.
What is the registered voter Region 4?
I think it's how much?
And
260 or 270.
Charles, also, Brian Collison needs to contemplate the following. If he is saying that APNU AFC has a likelihood that their votes might have increased in Region 4.
Possibility, not likelihood.
Right, possibility or whatever. But also, PPP would be arguing that there is a possibility that their votes
and I don't disagree. And I don't disagree. That's the thing. I don't disagree. But
all the
just
regions,
don't close off the avenues.
In all the regions, what I've seen there that came in, the PP extended its votes from 2015. Surpassing APNU more. It is sad to say this, but the thing is, in Region 4 of itself, I'm saying to everybody here, both parties know the results. Both parties know the results. So they're just playing games right now. I'm talking about both parties.
I don't know.
No, I'm talking about the parties, not you.
Okay.
Both parties know the results. So somebody playing games there.
And then there are challenges too, as Brian Mack said, I'm raising red herrings.
Challenges will come after.
People will always challenge. Sure, it's not red herrings.
Brian Mack should know not to use the word red when talking to you. He should say green herring, right?
Green herring, right?
Oh, it's green herring.
So it appears as though with all indications.
Let me ask you this, Dr. Rose.
Sorry.
What's the total number of voters registered for Region 4?
244,000.
Yeah. All right. So if you were to divide it straight down the middle.
No, what I'm saying, it appears as though APNU has won Region 4 by about 38,000 votes. Maybe a little about that number, 34,000.
But 34,000 votes won Region 4 by.
And that's it. And the thing is, APNU knows that, the PP knows that, and now the country knows that.
I can give you the exact
So we
number.
hope that tomorrow we can relax. As I said, as Brian Mack said very eloquently, and Timothy said it as well, the last government, the one is going out now, they governed for 5 years, the voters put them out. This new government coming in, they might have the same fate 5 years from now. Guyana has changed. I think the electorate want action, and I'm glad that Brian Mack told us that the PP supporters are saying they're holding a finale to his promises. If he doesn't deliver, next 5 years, we might have APNU in the government again. That is what we need in Guyana. We must change our government so often so that they are held accountable for their actions.
Right. And don't forget, one thing, Tim, just before you say, don't forget to Charles, that even if you were to take the voter count of Region 4 in consideration, you have to also take the voter turnout, which is an average of 65%.
Right.
Sorry, Tim, go ahead.
It appears as if they've restarted the count at GCOM. I'm not sure. They say that I see a note that there have been 2 replacement clerks.
Yeah.
The vote is recounted. The verification has started again. I don't know if that's true. Do you have any verification?
No, I just got word that the PPP, the PPP persons are saying that they are on standby. They're not going anywhere.
Right.
Just in case something happens and the count resumes.
Yes. You see, I got note here that the count has resumed.
Okay.
But our single representative, having been informed that it's has gone off.
It's the same note I got.
That single one.
Same note I
Only
got
one, not more than one.
GCOM strikes again.
12 hours.
They said the count will go until the wee hours in the morning.
So we might have the results in the morning. So tomorrow when we meet here, we'll definitely have the results, and we'll know who the new president is.
Not so fast. You might
challenge. That would be very official.
You might challenge Region 3.
After the declaration, you can challenge.
Yeah, you can challenge. That's it, even if it's after,
But after the declaration is made, the government, if whoever wins, takes power. When GCOM declares whoever loses, gotta walk. They'll have to walk.
Well, gentlemen, thank you so much. It's been a wonderful night. Let me first say that to Brian Max, thank you for being our voice of the streets basically, and giving us what's happening out there. Brian, your final thoughts as we wind down tonight's discussion.
I'm very. I want to congratulate the President of Guyana, Mr. Granger, for his words tonight. As you notice, he spoke very quietly to his followers. He gave them no indication that they're behind our head, and that is very nice of him. And I just wish that the other APNU leadership figures, if they can do the same thing. Do not lead your people down that road of lying to them, fully well knowing that you have the SOPs in hand and you know the exact count. We all know the count. We all know exactly what the figures tomorrow will be if they do the declaration tomorrow. We all know. We all know that the PPP will win with about 17,000 votes. And it's unfortunate that they are going down that road. And I wanna call on APNU supporters, please do not be misled. Please do not get angry. This is our country. We all love here. We understand how you feel about being governed by the PPP. you purport to be governed by your APNU government, but you went into a political fight, which was the elections. You lost the fight. Regroup, build your party, and come back in 5 years. And you better believe if this PVP government doesn't come up to scratch, I will be voting APNU AFC in 2025 because I voted APNU AFC in 2015. And I have proof, photograph, I have a photograph of the proof that I voted for the APNU AFC in 2015. So don't give up hope. There is a good country ahead. We have to come together to build Guyana. It's our country, and we can only get better if we work together.
Good.
Thank you, Brian. Thank you. And gentlemen, before I come over to you, let me just say that, I'm rightfully reminded that we should so call on our politicians that, at the end of the day, you're making all the decisions you want, whether it's ethical or not, integrity or lack of integrity, but history will be the judge, the final judge of your performance. And I think President Greta has been a historian, so he knows well about history. So we are where we are. Let me also confirm that based on what Tim and I alerted our viewers just now, the GCOM process, it seems like they may resume, but it hasn't started as yet. The truth is that the international observers as well as the opposition observers refuse to leave. I think that has caused a little bit of a standoff and a little bit of a knee-jerk kind of thing. So the process hopefully will resume. So when we are here tomorrow, it should be really, really over and done with. Mr. Cleveland, your final comment, sir.
I will just wait patiently until tomorrow for GCOM to make official. Oh, sorry.
Thank you.
Yes.
Mr. Brian, sorry, go on.
Patiently awaiting GCOM's release of the official results tomorrow. And hopefully everyone will accept the results and go ahead their lives and live as Guyanese. Amen. Peaceful coexistence and develop our country for everyone. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Brian Collison.
All right, and notice Mr. Granger made a calm, collective, and fair statement to his supporters. Not everyone knows he's an honest and a decent man, and I don't have that expectation of the incoming or maybe new president, but I hope he can take a lesson from his speech. Those are my thoughts.
All right. So, but Brian, like, give up the fight here. You basically said there will be a new president. Mr. Charles Sugrim, sir, your final thought.
Yeah, like Brian, Max, I also supported, like Tim, when AFC was formed. The last election, 2015, I supported wholeheartedly the APNU AFC coalition. We campaigned for them. We did everything possible. But I was really disappointed with the performance of the government. Now, I'm not a supporter of the PVP. I supported the joiner list. I'm told that maybe they got one seat. If that is so, one is better than nothing. And I'm looking forward to, I said in this program so many times, here in New York, I cannot help talking about our Consul General, Mrs. Atterley. She has worked well in this community, and I have worked with her in a group there at the consulate. Most of them are African Guyanese descent, and they work so well together for so many things we have done together at the consulate. Cleveland is one of them who has been very involved in that as well, and I am proud to be part of that. And I'm hoping, when I see the way we work together to get things done on behalf of Guyana, we can do the same thing in Guyana. We can work together. Pat yourself on the back. Say we have fought the fight. We did what we had to do. But at the end of the day, in a boxing match, one guy gets one punch and he's knocked down. The referee calls the fight. Guess what? At the end, the two fighters will embrace each other because the game has been played. You have won. I respect that. And I'm appealing to my Guyanese brothers and sisters. Your passion is there. You want your party to win. Guess what? Only one party can win in this instant. And if it's the PPP who win and it appears as though they have won, give them your support. What, as Brian Mack said, if they cannot perform, they do not live up to what they told you they will do, you can vote them out the next 5 years. And that is how democracy should be. So my appeal to you guys, Guyanese, my fellow brothers and sisters, please work together. Guyana is on the cups of great things. We can make it together or we will break it together. Let us do it first and build it together.
Right. Thank you. Thank you, Brother Charles. Dr. Rose.
Yeah, I want to say this. I've been involved in politics here in the United States since 1998. My first involvement was with Jeb Bush in Florida as a strategist. But in 2010, I was Governor Andrew Cuomo's chief strategist here in New York. And we strategized day and night. There was no time frame. But my most rewarding time came in 2011. I took 3 months off of work as a professor without pay, went down to Guyana from September the 4th until December to help the AFC. And they won 7 seats. And I lived to see that the AFC squander the good opportunities. And this is what I'm saying. I am not getting involved in no party in Guyana anymore. First party, second party, third party. I never voted in Guyana because I left there pretty young. And I will not get involved. 3 months of my pay, that at the time there's a half year's pay, is over, in 2010 was over $55,000. And I've lived to see them squander that position, the opportunities they had. Now, the thing I want to mention to you all is this. One person's name is not mentioned here because she worked behind the scenes, is GCOM Chief Chairman, Justice Claudette Singh. When this spreadsheet came up, I was told by someone in GCOM, because I have direct contact in GCOM, that Claudette Singh says, what foolishness is this? Now y'all get this thing out of here. We got to go by the polls, statement of polls. This is what I was told she said. Get this foolishness out of here. So she was able to say, she said, I promised the people that I want fair, free elections and transparent elections. And that's what she will always stand up for. She said, I don't care who wins. It must be fair, free, and transparent. As GCOM chairman, that's what I will do. And that's what I'm saying. I have to give her some credit for that. Also give President Granger some credit to calm the people down and so forth. He did a good job with that tonight, and I hope the people listen to him and don't get involved with any violent act, win or lose. Something else was mentioned last night in Buxton. Buxton and Annandale, some Indians and some black youths came together. It was, somebody told me it was on Facebook. I didn't see it though. And they were celebrating together in Annandale and Buxton. They said a vote for, and they were playing guitar and rapping, the vote for one Guyana. These are the youth. Correct. They said they were in the streets, but a small group of 30, 40 people. They said they voted for one Guyana. And they were celebrating. I was told Indians and black boys in Buxton. That is a good start to me if that's true. Yeah. That is a good start, you know. Yeah, so with that, I say amen to Guyana and the youths.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Rose. And our good friend Timothy Jonas. Sir, what's your final comment as we wrap up our show for tonight?
I'm not one for platitudes, yo. I'm a vote race. We could talk about old hands and saying kumbaya. We could talk about graciously conceding defeat and saying to the other party, we will support you. No, that doesn't happen in Guyana. Let's face our reality. One ethnic side won, the other ethnic side lost. That other ethnic side is out in the desert for 5 years. They will hate the 5 years, they will hate the government, and the fight will start again in another 5 years. The only hope is the minority who have risen above a system that is harmful in itself. I'm not singing kumbaya. I reject the platitudes.
Good. Same here.
Right. Thank you, thank you, gentlemen. Thank you. Let me say before we exit the program, thanks to Devin Bisoon, thanks to the Globespan team, Thanks to Nohar Singh for making this happen. We will continue to be on election watch as the process unfolds in Guyana. Please stay in touch with Max Media Productions, Brian Max, with myself, with every member of this panel here. And tomorrow night, we certainly will be continuing our election watch. Hopefully by tomorrow night, we can be assessing the declared results instead of any other discussion. Let me say also thanks to the viewers and kudos to President Granger and the opposition leader, Dr. Jagdeo, for calling for peace and calm in the process. Let me also say thanks at this stage to the international observers. Today we have seen a lot of people used to question, well, why you need outsiders to tell you what to do. Well, today we have seen that you do need them. You do need them, or else things would have really gone haywire. The process, to conclude, the process as is at GCOM is that they're still waiting on an RO to recommence. But the truth is that the observers from the opposition and the international side, they are not going anywhere. They are waiting, and we're hoping that we can force GCOM to get the process going. So we are waiting for that. So gentlemen, and Devin Bisoon, Nohar Singh, Globespan team, thank you all. It's been a pleasure to have you in this long discussion tonight. Looking forward to see you and having an interaction tomorrow night. Viewers out there, please stay home. Those of you who are in Guyana, be safe, be calm, and when you can, if you can, and however you can, give a prayer for Guyana. Thank you all. Have a good night, everyone. Good night.
Thank you. Good night.
Good night. Good night.
We come cross the Caribbean Sea, mother, father, picnic, and we settle down in GT. We bend down on the coastal plain, the hot sun and pouring rain, and we planted the rice and cane. Yes, we take off the boots and we put down the roots. So the crab wood that grow in Essequibo is we own.